Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WIC TV, a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. Sorry, we're running a little late, gang. We're running a little late, but we're trying to get the camera to... Success! We can see
worked.
you. Beautiful. Right on time. Now you muted yourself, so now we can't hear you, but we can see you. We have a visual connection and an audible connection, and we're ready to go. I'm excited for today. There's been a lot of talk about DSA. We talked about it last night a little bit, but we have some great guests to discuss it a little more in depth. Should liberals be working with people who all accept DSA into the coalition? There's been a lot of discourse about, well, fair enough on DSA candidates themselves, but what should happen to those people who advocate for DSA, who may not be a part of it, or even not advocate, but maybe simply tolerate DSA? What should be our stance there? Is liberalism and the DSA compatible within the same party? We got a lot to talk about. We got some great people to talk about it with. And I'm going to give the mic to each of these lovely individuals to kind of introduce themselves, give their overall thoughts, and then we'll just kind of get into it. And gang, if you, yes you, have questions for the panel, feel free to super chat or throw a couple bucks my way, and I'll see what we can do. It's going to be a great show, and I'm excited to do it. Sherveen, I'm going to give the mic first to you. Tell people who you are, what you do, and what are your thoughts on the topic at hand? Go ahead.
Appreciate it, Wick. My name is Sherveen. I am a technologist, startup founder, and somebody who rotates in political spaces in New York and online sometimes. And my TLDR on this is relatively simple. Everything that's happening right now with the center left and lib left online, which I consider myself a part of, all of my policy positions track very closely to, let's say, an Obama-Clinton style Democratic Party. But the reaction currently of the prominent voices on this liberal left equate to a loser position. We are in a loser position world where everyone on the liberal left watches too much of Hassan and is brain broken and poisoned and is currently saying, sexy streamer guy is getting too much attention. All of his friends are getting elected and I'm mad. And because I'm mad, I'm going to cut off my nose to spite my face. All these people are unacceptable to me. I won't show up to talk to them. I'm going to be feel scornful and vengeful when they get attention and try to box me out. And I'm not going to attempt to persuade, to engage. And I think, again, it's just a loser position.
Well, we're happy to have you here. It's going to be an interesting conversation. Josh, go ahead. First time on the stream, but if you follow me on Twitter, you probably see me retweet this guy a few times. So he's a good guy. Give us what you got.
I'm definitely happy to be here. My name is Blue Dog Josh, but of course, anyone can call me just Josh. I am an avid tweeter. I'm a DDGer. I'm a neo-Lockheed liberal, blue dog, third way Democrat. Lots of different titles there, but I fit under all of them. I sometimes stream on my Twitch, Mr. Blue Dog Josh, about some political stuff. But yeah, just about center-left politics is my main shtick. I love fighting with the far left and far right, especially on Twitter. I'm a big tweeter. But on to my opening. A coalition is a temporary group of political organizations and individuals forming to progress shared policy goals. The Democratic Party has formed many coalitions to get landmark policy passed throughout its history, from FDR to LBJ to Obama. We have always set aside our policy differences once key policy proposals are at play. But the contemporary DSA doesn't just have policy differences with Democrats. They have fundamental political differences that make their ideology incompatible with the modern Democratic Party. While Democrats and the DSA may have overlapped in specific political policy, I believe wholeheartedly that the DSA and the Democratic Party do not have the same overall fundamental governing vision for America. The DSA has become an explicitly illiberal organization and should not be treated as a core faction within the Democratic coalition. By illiberal, I am talking about rejecting core principles of liberal democracy, including political pluralism, respect for democratic institutions, and a willingness to treat ideological opponents as legitimate participants in governance. Their movement increasingly treats mainstream Democrats as political opponents to be displaced rather than coalition partners with whom compromise is possible. The question before us isn't whether Democrats in the DSA share some policy goals. They clearly do. The real question is whether they share the same governing philosophy and subscribe to the same political norms. I will argue they do not, and tonight I intend to prove it.
Okay, we're looking for a real big disagreements here, and I think we got them. I guess to start off, you mentioned Sherveen in your kind of like overall statement here that you think that a lot of this is driven by, I guess you'd frame it as jealousy, where that a lot of influencers are seeing people like Hassan kind of being ascendant and being welcomed into journalistic spaces, and that we are just kind of doing this because we don't like them on a personal level. Is that a fair characterization
No.
of your argument?
No, I hear why you heard that, but let me
Yeah,
explicitly say
okay,
that I don't think
please
it's
do.
jealousy as much as the rise concerns everybody. I think the concern is real, and so I think when you or Steven or Hutch or all these folks see Hassan gain attention that obviously he's using to political ends, and he's winning the conversation, he's winning the political fight.
Subjective.
There's a genuine reaction and a genuine concern that is turning, though, too focused on what he says. And so a lot of what I see in kind of logically is saying, okay, what do we do next? What's the prescription? What's the thing that we can actually take as an action item? So much of it is about pointing at what's going on with the DSA. And saying there's danger, there's danger, there's danger, when the reality of the situation is it's Hassan, who's a streamer, who's online way too much, says way too many things, has to say so many things to get the attention he does. And the overall, the influencers, the candidates, the polity, the voters are not as aligned from a policy perspective with Hassan, with the DSA platform whatsoever, which the platform has kind of lost some of its most prominent candidates in terms of the connection to the platform policy. AOC is a great example of this. And so it's less jealousy. It's more that the tunnel vision on what danger is coming is about what Hassan and Hassan-alikes say.
What would your response to that be, Mr. Josh?
I mean, in my opening statement, I didn't mention Hassan once. I don't know where Hassan comes into this argument. I mean, Hassan is a key player on the far left, but he's a representative of the far left. And you said something that piqued my interest. You said, Sherveen, that the DSA platform is not aligned with the voters and what the median voters think. And to me, I ask you, why should we align with an organization that doesn't align platform-wise with voters?
So don't align with the organization. The question, though, and this is the real pragmatic question of politics, is does the platform actually represent the true vision of its policy, or is it some organizing thing that is in an imperfect world the best thing we have to point to? Let me put that differently. DSA voters don't want to dismantle NATO. DSA voters, generally speaking, are pro-markets, pro-small business, and pro-capitalism. DSA voters, this has been proven time and time again in surveys. There are some great articles about Hassan Piker's fan base. People have done analytics and polling to try to, it's hard to get it exact, but to see what he thinks. And we find every single time, these people look more like standard liberals who have latched onto a label, such as DemSoc, or they're following Hassan on social media. And then when you poll them, they're actually far more like your coastal official formal Democratic Party voter or polity member. Why does this happen? Well, what's happened is, and this is true across our politics, there are people who are much better at speaking to the pain than the standard Democratic Party. And in the moment at which a Hassan or an AOC or a Mamdani or some of these other DSA folks are better at communicating to people's pain and making them feel heard and making them feel like they're going to take some action to try to relieve them of that pain, that person says, I'm going to now follow this person, I'm going to call myself a DemSoc, whatever else it might be. But but that is an imperfect representation of their view of the world. That's an imperfect representation of what they want to have happen over time. And so I think what we're chasing, right, as well, again, center left is too soft. Let's call it the standard Obama era Dem. What we're chasing right now is a ghost. This sort of very powerful DSA party that's going to actually demolish the Senate and NATO and all of our institutions doesn't exist.
It does exist. But
Prove
I'm
it
not
to me.
talking about the.
Tell me
I'm
how.
not,
Tell me how.
I'm not talking about the voters. I'm talking about the candidates the voters choose. The voters are choosing anti-NATO candidates. The voters are choosing anti.
Sorry, who's an anti-NATO candidate that the voters have chosen?
Darliza.
Darliza has not talked about NATO in quite some time.
I'm sure if
and it's
she was
it's one
world
candidate,
king,
and it's
she'd
sorry,
get NATO,
Josh,
she'd
and
get
Josh,
NATO
and
out
Josh,
of
and
here.
Josh. It's one candidate. We have liberals, we have standard stock Democrats who are pro-gun rights. We have standard stock Democrats who have different foreign policy positions. You can't anchor everything on a singular candidate, and so you have to tell me
I'm not.
that
You asked for a single
right,
example.
but there's
I
a
gave
reason.
you
Okay,
one.
give me a second
I'm not-
example. Give me a second example.
Claire Valdez, probably the same.
Probably. Citation,
Yeah,
please.
probably the same.
This is the problem.
She's not in Congress yet.
We're pointing at people who have not expressed the extremes of the DSA and saying because they're affiliated with the party. You know who's affiliated, by the way, with the DSA? I listened to Live and Learn the other day, and Hutch and the crew kept saying Brad Lander's not DSA. Brad Lander's not DSA. True that he wasn't DSA when he was running against Mamdani in the primary. By then he had left the DSA. But for 30 years prior, Brad Lander was a member of the DSA. Did he want the destruction of all foreign allegiances and NATO and institutions in America? No. Brad Lander, probably when he joined the DSA, whenever he did 30 years ago, had a certain pain that he felt the party, that coalition, was better speaking to. But his actual positions, especially over time, are obviously not the same as the exact platform of the DSA. Platform positions from parties are imperfect representations. And by the way, I'm not opposed to saying that we don't want to, formally recognize that platform or decide, okay, what do we do with the formal leaders of the DSA versus the candidates? Because the platform, I think in 2026 it's moderated a little bit. They've redone it for object purposes, probably. But it is crazy. What do you mean what's not true? What about what I just said is not true?
Go ahead,
The
Josh.
the DSA platform has not moderated it as.
I believe in 2026 they literally changed the platform, and but he's lying. You're lying. Don't lie.
I'm not lying. I have the platform right in front of me. The DSA
didn't they remove references, for example, to NATO?
What does removing references to NATO have anything to do with them extremely making?
That means they're moderating the platform. Whether or not you believe them is a different story.
They're nixing their worst ideology.
Whether you believe them is a different story versus the formal platform that they publish. In the same way that the Democratic Party, if you look at 100 years of the Democratic Party, the platform is different every time that the Democrats have an opportunity to get together and vote and coalesce on a platform, right? So what I'm referring to, whether or not you believe it, is that they are moderating the unifying platform that, again, not everyone ascribes to in full.
What is their policy platform on NATO?
What is your policy position on NATO?
I'm not here to debate my policy.
Do you think your policy position on NATO and my policy position? Hold on, Josh. Do you think your policy? Do you think your policy position on NATO and my policy position on NATO are exactly aligned?
I don't care.
We don't know each other. Do you think they're exactly aligned?
I don't care. It's not. It's relevant to this argument.
Okay, answer it anyway. Do you think they're exactly aligned?
Why would I answer something that's irrelevant to the argument?
Because I might make it relevant after you answer my question.
Do we have the same? I don't know.
Would you guess that we have the exact same? Would you guess? We're just two people who don't know each other. We're meeting on a WIC panel. Do you think that they're exactly the same?
Are you 100% pro NATO?
Yeah.
Then so am I.
Okay. But we didn't know, right? We had to ask each other questions. When we think about the fact you and I both identified at the top of this call as pretty much the same sort of Democrat. You said blue dog. I would say, some at different points I've identified as third way. We have a similar vibe, and yet we still don't know perfectly if both of us ascribe to the same policy positions. You have to ask me the question. The same thing is going to be true of two different DSA people. People do not whole and adopt the platform of the party that they affiliate with in casual conversation.
But if you had to guess whether someone in DSA who said I'm a DSA candidate mostly
Candidate or
aligned with
member?
the DSA platform, and you had to bet some money on it,
Yeah.
you would probably it would be reasonable to be like, okay, if this person says they're the DSA candidate, if the DSA backs them,
So who
then
are
they
we talking about?
probably
Are we
have
talking about
most of
candidates or the
if I may
polity?
finish, they probably have most of their policies in common, if not all of their policies in common with the
I don't know.
DSA. Why would that
Actually,
be?
unfortunately, I don't think that's true. For example, on NATO, there are many members of the DSA that do not align with the DSA platform that was previously. Again, I think in 2026 they've changed it a
Can
little
you
bit.
name 3?
But AOC. I don't know if Mamdani specifically spoken on NATO. AOC is one.
What does Mamdani have to do with NATO?
No, he's asking. I asked the question. I asked was Sherveen claimed that many members of the DSA do not align their positions on the DSA with NATO specifically, and I asked him to name 3. He named 1.
And by the way, Mamdani is very pro
That-
ICC, which is again a foreign affiliation. You'd say it's something
Hold
about
on,
the
no.
anti-institutional-
ICC
The
and
ICC is
NATO
not
are
NATO, but-
very different things.
Right, but it's
you don't
it's
see
an
that. You don't see.
institution.
Wait.
It's an
You don't see
institution.
that.
It's a
Sherveen, you don't see
coalition.
that you don't see that as a threat to the Democratic Party that you can't name 3 DSA candidates that
I don't
pro-NATO
traffic in a lot of
stance?
DSA. I can barely name 3 DSA members, generally speaking. So no.
Yeah,
Why'd
but
you come on this
you
panel
made a
if you can't
claim
name
that
3
many
DSA
of them
candidates?
don't share their
Because
party position on NATO, and
Hold
then
on,
I
let me
asked you
address
to
what
okay,
Josh
name
said for a
3.
second. Let me address what Josh said for a second. Josh, because everybody that I listen to online talks about these people all the time, and it's the same 3 people. They talk about Hassan, Mamdani, AOC, and Daria Liza. Same 4 people. That's all they talk about. So that's why I can only name 3. This party is not as significant as the online left likes to pretend. This party is small. Its polity is far more liberal than we give it credit for. It's electing a few candidates the same way we elect a few people on the liberal left that are closer to the center. The same way that we've always had to fight with the center of the Senate and get votes across for things like healthcare, because we have some liberals who exist in some states that have to have a different platform and a different policy palette than the liberal that lives in California and New York, the liberal that represents California and New York. So this is true all the time. So why am I unable to perfectly represent? Because I'm not a member of the DSA, but I'm listening to the critiques and I'm looking for evidence and I'm not finding it.
I mean, that's a lot of words, but I don't know.
Oh, sorry. Is it too much for you?
No, it's definitely not too much for me.
Okay. You're the one who said it was a lot of words, so
It was for
respond to the
saying,
words.
For saying nothing. What is there to respond to? You don't know a bunch of DSA candidates. I asked you a simple question. You don't think it's a threat to the Democratic Party that you can't name 3 candidates?
Why is that a
from the
threat?
DSA?
Why is me not being able to name
Because they
threat?
could become key votes on NATO funding and NATO decisions and foreign policy decisions.
So ask them about it. Ask them about it.
You want me to ask them myself? What I'm asking
Yes,
you.
absolutely.
You're taking the position that we should
Sorry,
be.
sorry. I'm not here just to like debate, bro. Hold on.
I'm sorry.
I'm not here to
sorry,
debate, bro.
Can I
I'm not here to
finish?
debate, bro. When you say you're asking me, I don't care that you're asking me. The
You
question
asked
that
me
we're
a
asking is
question
about the Liberal
first.
Party. Bro,
You asked me a question about NATO
I'm
first.
not
Why
the
can't
one
you
who asked the
answer
What
question
is
about the threats.
for my what is Valdez's first name?
Claire?
Claire.
Okay, thank you.
But I'm saying I'm taking the affirmative that these people do not belong in our coalition because they are threats to first our liberal democracy and threats to the Democratic
Who are the
Party.
people, the voters or the electeds?
Not the voters, the candidates.
So how do you deal with that?
You from the DNC down, you don't talk about these candidates. You don't endorse them. You
Do you
don't
not
give them
engage
resources.
with AOC?
Yeah, I mean, if she wants to be part of the DSA, then yeah.
She's
if she wants to,
she's still a member of the DSA, no?
I mean, the DSA, she has a rocky relationship with the DSA.
Yeah,
so,
but she's still a member,
she's
correct?
Okay, then yeah.
I will take. Do you affiliate with Mamdani?
Mamdani?
Do you affiliate with Mamdani?
Do I affiliate with him?
Not you, literally. Do we as Democrats affiliate with Mamdani in your strategy?
The DSA guy? No, the guy who propped up Daria Liza now.
So you're going to tell voters, and you're going to tell liberals who are looking for people to push forward a liberal agenda, and looking for people who
So
have a
just to be
vision
clear,
for some
The
vision for the
DSA
future.
isn't looking to push forward a liberal agenda. You're lying.
I just
How
want
am I
to
lying?
do a
Is
couple fact
Mamdani
checks
not,
here. Want to
putting
do a
together
couple fact checks.
liberal
AOC
agenda in
is
City?
He identifies as a socialist.
Sure,
You're in
sure.
New York, right?
Well, just real quick. AOC is not a member of the DSA. She's not formally a dues-paying member of the DSA.
Does she identify as a Democratic Socialist?
It says instead identifying and operating strictly as a member of the Democratic Party.
Oh.
Okay, but what's her self-claim? What's her ID for self?
That's what it
Call
says
yourself a-
here. I could look further into it if you'd like. I think
Yes,
this
this is the useful thing
changed
to
over
understand
the
because
years.
the question becomes what is our prescription, right? And one of the things that I find
And
problematic
to be
with people
clear,
like Josh
DSA
is that the
officially
prescription.
unendorsed it, AOC in
Yes, yes, sure,
2024.
exactly. This is part of the problem. One of the issues that we have is that we have an imperfect representation when it comes to any party, right? This is true of the formal Democrats as well. There are times where we've been really frustrated with the Democratic Party as liberals. And when we have this imperfect representation, we have to ask ourselves, what's the prescription if we're frustrated with, let's say, the official platform? The same thing, for example, is happening right now with Stephen and the college Democrats after what happened with him getting uninvited or barred from entering the recent event next to LibCon, which is, are we holding the leaders of a platform or a party accountable and trying to persuade them that they need to change their approach? Or are we asking the polity, the voters of that party, to join us to vote for different people? Or are we telling the voters and or the candidates we no longer want to affiliate with them, that they don't belong in our
Yes.
tent, that they actually...
Yes.
Yes
That's
to
exactly
all of
what I'm
them?
saying. That's my prescription. No, that last one is my prescription.
So you're going to tell the electeds and the polity we don't want to be involved with them?
Yeah, because they're specifically illiberal. They want to change our economic social.
You think the average
system
Mamdani
to,
voter is
can you,
illiberal?
Can you let me finish? I let
No.
you speak
Do you
for
think the average
eight
Mamdani...
hours.
A normal conversation has a lot of interruptions. I know that like the online
But you're
debates...
interrupting me, and I'm letting you speak.
Yeah.
Chill.
Wait,
Be interrupted. Chill. Chill.
I thought
Chill your shit.
I thought
Chill your shit.
this debate was whether we should allow these people in our coalition, not whatever you're speaking, whatever you're talking about.
Huh? But aren't we talking exactly about that?
Yeah. Okay. So
Let's ground it a
what's
little
your
bit.
prescription?
Let's ground it a little bit. Okay. To Josh, and I want you to answer this question. If, for example, we had a DSA member who was up for, well, Troy Jackson, I believe, is a DSA member. So we can use an actual example. Troy Jackson in Maine is a DSA member. He's going to be running against Collins coming up here. Do you support him in the general election or no?
Yeah, I'm a vote blue no matter who kind of guy. So yeah, I support Troy Jackson against Susan Collins. But
Okay.
that being said, I don't think the Democratic Party as a whole should endorse DSA type candidates.
You
What?
turn that into something that actually maths. How do you decide when to do it and when not to do it?
Because I'm an individual and the DNC is an organization that represents the Democratic Party. That's the difference.
Are we seeing the
right?
DNC? Are we seeing the DNC move in ways that trouble you?
Yeah.
Where have they endorsed a DSA candidate over a Democrat?
They endorsed Grant Plattner.
Over a Democrat.
I mean, the DNC doesn't endorse DSA candidates over they don't endorse primary candidates.
So what's your concern?
What are you talking about? I laid out my concern. My concern is that the DSA is propping up illiberal candidates that want to destroy the Democratic Party. That's my concern. Are you
propping up illiberal candidates that want to destroy the Democratic Party?
No, not really. I mean, saying I support them isn't necessarily a wholehearted support of the DSA as an entire organization. Troy Jackson
and the
won,
party supporting a particular candidate that they think represents more of the big tent on the left. Is
what do you
also
mean by
not
big
wholeheartedly.
Tent?
What do you think I mean by big tent?
I don't know. I don't know what you mean by big
let's
tent.
ask.
Is everybody
Sherveen,
included in the big tent?
let me ask, Sherveen. When you say big tent, say Trump Jr. decided to run for office, and he decided to run as a Democrat. Is he in the tent?
No.
Why not?
Because we have to ask how far the values deviate from our values as a whole. And from our values as a whole, and especially, again, if you ask the voters, and maybe this is because I'm in New York, I'm next to a lot of DSA people, or people who call themselves Democratic Socialists. Great, so you know this. When you go out to the bar, and you talk to an average Mamdani person, college educated or not college educated, someone who works at the bar or who works at Goldman Sachs, you're going to hear the same thing when you ask them about their policy positions and what they want their mayor, their senator, anyone else to do. They actually sound more like liberals. When people listen to candidates and decide to support a candidate, and by the way, I'm going to say something about what happens when people are in office as well, because that's going to be the other concern. They're not ascribing to the candidate's whole self, but they're deciding, okay, has this person stated 1 to 3 things that identify with the pain I feel or the change that I want to see, and therefore they represent something that I can get behind. That doesn't mean they necessarily endorse every single policy position. So as a whole, when we look at the voting block,
Okay,
we're
just
say,
real quick, I have to make a
correction.
correction. I've been corrected. Troy Jackson is not a member of the DSA, but the DSA does endorse Troy Jackson. My bad.
Okay.
Didn't want to spread some misinformation.
So then we get to the second portion of this, which is then, okay, you might say, even if the voters believe all of this, they're voting for candidates that they then put in office who have this illiberal end view. And I'd say there's two flaws to that second piece. The first, we still live in a place where it's very slow, unless you're Trump, to get things done. And so the idea that a few congressional seats going to these individuals is going to cause the dissolution of our institutions is it's just not true. They're an extraordinarily small portion of the overall voting block. They're people who are louder than their bite is much smaller than their bark. But there's also another component to it, which is once they're in office, what we've seen many times and what we should be embracing is the Mamdaniification and the AOCification of the campaign. In other words, they moderate and they become pragmatic. Not all of them, and that's not something we should rely on, but I think we should be giving people a shot. For example, Mamdani is doing great things in New York. I mean, they're not grand yet in that we haven't
Sherveen
seen...
talk show? I'm asking, what do you consider a big tent? I haven't gotten that answer yet. You went on a ramble. What is a big tent to you?
Your mother. Your mother should be part of our tent.
She already is. She's a Democrat.
I'm just curious why
she's not DSA.
When we look at Trump Jr., like obviously his values, his principles deviate from the Democratic parties, mine, the general Democratic parties. But
Who's?
Trump Jr., right? That's why I asked you about the Big Tent. We're sticking on the Big Tent.
Does Mamdani's?
I just don't see how the DSA platform's
values
principles
seem to differ.
I'm talking about the institution, right? The institution, the DSA, its principles
Trump Jr.
deviate just as much.
I'm going to ask you again, Mamdani, since you asked. I don't give a shit. We're in a conversation. I hate this
we
whole.
Know you don't.
Oh, don't interrupt. And you're monologuing. Who cares? We're at a bar. I'm going to talk more. I'm going to be the guy at the bar who talks more. Shut the fuck up about it. Josh, shut the fuck up.
We already know.
Yeah, it's fine. Deal with it.
I won't.
Deal with it.
I won't.
Okay, fine. Whine, bitch. All right.
Jesus Christ, we don't have to.
Mad.
Look, we're friends. Well, maybe not. But
I don't like that this guy is not going with the implication.
Obviously, I don't like that
you're
not answering the question. What's a big tent to you? You went on a ramble for 5 minutes. What's a big tent to you? It's a simple question. I can answer it.
Wick, Mamdani, values, far from yours or not?
So I don't know. His stated values, no. But then
recent stated values or many years ago
values? Let me finish. I'm going to explain my answer. But then, and this is why I've changed my mind on him. Because when he first got elected, I was like, you know what? I don't like this guy. I don't like he's a socialist, but he did get elected. Let's see what he does. Let's see what kind of policies he's put forth. Because you're right. He did tend to moderate, at least in his language, and the policies that except for the rent control and the state-owned grocery stores. I don't like those. But it wasn't horrible. And then he endorsed Chevalier. And Chevalier is an anti-American stain on what it means to be a Democrat and an American. She is so far outside of the Overton window and the norm that it was a horror to me. It was horrific. And him endorsing her makes me suspect that despite him maybe doing some kind of moderation in his language, that his true aims may not match his language.
Not just endorse Darya-Lisa. Mamdani endorsed Darya-Lisa over Espaillat, who endorsed him. He stabbed Espaillat in the back by endorsing Darya-Lisa.
Why are you whining on that other... This is like such transitive property nonsense.
It's not. It's the truth. Yeah, you can sit there and pout all you want, but it's the truth.
It's the truth that you are upset about it. It's not the truth that there are promises that you know were guaranteed.
I'm not upset about it. I'm just explaining to you what happened.
About it.
No, you just called me a bitch, so you're upset about what's happening tonight. Okay.
Josh,
what's a big tent, Sherveen?
Hold on, Josh. What's
a big tent? Can you answer that question?
Can you reset for a second? I'm gonna make a request and you make a request. I will stop interrupting you as much, and I will play more by your
I don't
rules.
care about the interruptions. I want to know what a big tent is.
But here's my. I'll answer that question. But let's.
Please, I'm begging you at this point.
I don't want to do this whiny nonsense for a second. If I interrupt you less, can I ask you to stop this like strained voice? As if I'm not answering the question. Well, hold on.
This.
Yes, but when you ask me the big tent, you know I'm not dodging the question. I gave you a
longer
longer answer because
you're rambling still.
Never mind. Whatever. You're just gonna continue to be a whiny bitch.
Answer the question.
A big tent.
You mentioned big tent. I'm asking you, what do you mean by big tent?
I realize that you can't actually listen to a longer answer and interpret what I mean, and you need me to do very definitions. So let me go ahead and do that.
All right, go. If you don't answer the question, I'll ask it again after your ramble. Go. You go. You got it.
No, I told you that you don't understand the ramble.
I do understand.
Like, I'm not
sure. Okay. Both of you stop. Both of you. Sherveen, I'm going to give you, and don't interrupt him, give you about a minute to answer the question. Go ahead.
I don't need a minute because the more literal answer is very easy. A big tent means we need a coalition that collects from not just a core standard of values and polity, but a wider breadth that represents a general left liberalism.
Is that an acceptable answer?
That is, I mean, kind of, but I mean, it's kind of vague.
My more complex answer confused you, so I gave you a little more of a generic abstract.
It wasn't a complex answer. It was an answer that didn't get to the point, and we had to.
Big tent means include Mamdani, include AOC.
So, what is the boundary for that big tent for you?
Deviation of values. You can't point to it or be specific about it because hold on.
What deviation of values? What do you mean by that?
You have to decide.
How much is too much deviation?
You have to decide based off of a feeling or a summary or interpretation. Why is it that I can't give you a literal definition? Because it's difficult. Let's say, for example, that you try to do it on Second Amendment. You can't because obviously in certain states, in certain races, that's a thing that we want to allow a Democratic candidate in certain locations and with certain boundaries to deviate from, let's even say, the platform position of the Democratic Party, right? And so these things have to be a moment in time where we understand the context of a race, the context of the national party, the context of what we're up against. And if we take all of those factors and we sum them up and we try to say, okay, does this candidate deviate too much? It's going to be something that we kind of have to look at and feel out. It's going to be difficult. It's a difficult task. I do think it's impossible to make it a formula.
Does a communist or a socialist, is that included in that 10? Is that
communist?
Too much of a
No,
deviation?
a socialist, yes.
Well, that is Chevalier. Is Chevalier? However you say her name. I'm
I don't know.
Why do you differentiate from
is she in the tent
and communist?
I don't know enough about the policy positions. We can explore it together.
Okay, I can bring up some of her more. Let me get an official list, so I'm not just doing it from memory. So continue to back and forth while I get this.
Cool.
Up.
I mean, Daria Lisa praises Lenin. I mean, I wouldn't include her in my
context.
She praises Lenin. Is there any context in which that's acceptable?
Can we let's just for a second actually be collaborative. When we look at Mamdani and what he said in the past, I know a lot of people will get clips of him saying seize the means of production when he was young. Do you think that? And I don't know, right? Neither of us can know his mind or his heart. But do you think that he still has that goal right now? And I know we don't know, but if you had to guess,
what goal? Said that a socialist economy.
He wants people to seize the means of production.
Yeah, he still has that goal.
Why do you think that?
Has he renounced him being a socialist? No,
so
right?
Do you think has he renounced him being a socialist?
Yeah, he identifies as a socialist. You didn't know that about your own mayor?
No, I'm trying to trace why you think that means he thinks that people should still seize the means of production.
You talked about seizing the means of production. That's a socialist talking point. He identifies as a socialist. I'm asking you.
He one time, I actually wasn't using the fact he identifies as a socialist. It was the clip that is often played of him when he was young.
Okay.
Do you remember the clip I'm talking about?
No, I don't know the clip you're talking about.
So there's a clip that was often used during the race.
I'm not talking about now, though.
One of the things that is maybe a little bit odd about me, and I just want to label it, is I'm not trying to actually be confrontational unless you piss me off. Can we default to not being confrontational? Stop.
I am trying to be. Wait. I am trying to be confrontational because I disagree with you.
Let's be confrontational on the subject matter, right?
I am.
When I'm saying something, though, don't be skeptical of the thing itself. Don't be skeptical of what I'm presenting you. Be skeptical of what it means.
I'm talking about Mamdani. You're talking about seizing the means. I'm talking about him identifying as a
There was a clip. There was a clip from when he was young on Zoom saying something about seizing the means of production. I'm
Okay.
trying to trace why you think he still thinks that today. That's what I'm trying to trace. I'm not trying to trace what
he still identifies as a socialist today. Socialists believe in ceasing the means
you think.
of
Everyone
production.
who identifies as
Therefore,
democratic socialist thinks that
that-
markets shouldn't exist.
that's a straw man. I'm talking about socialists. Socialists like
Does he
Mandami.
identify as a socialist?
He does. He does identify as a socialist. He doesn't identify as a Democrat. Yeah, look it up. ChatGPT it. I know you love AI.
I do.
Hey, I use AI to make my thumbnails. It's not
Oh,
that bad.
I mean,
Okay,
I
yeah.
use AI too, but I mean,
I mean, it's
you
And it's
fantastic.
look,
Twitter
I'm not-
page
and I
it's
do
all
also
AI.
want to say it's okay if you don't know something. It's perfectly okay to
Oh,
look
definitely,
it up. Yeah.
definitely okay to look it up.
Yeah.
I can't find him labeling himself a socialist. Feel free to help me. I'm not trying to say he didn't, but I think he just made that up. Democratic socialist everywhere I see.
Democratic socialists. What? Is there a difference? He's part of the DSA. The DSA platform is to transform
Do you
the
think all
capitalist
DSA
American.
members?
Yes, yes, I do think all DSA members ascribe to the DSA platform. Yes.
That would make sense that they would ascribe at least to the majority of the platform. Yeah. Otherwise, why would they be it?
Because these things are imperfect representations, and people know that they live within a system. You didn't fall out of a coconut tree. You exist in the context that surrounds you. And in that context, for example, again, I'm going to use a Goldman Sachs employee we might meet at a bar, or the bartender we might meet at a bar in New York, who votes for Mamdani, who identifies and calls themselves a democratic socialist. What we're really saying in that moment, if we take the voter rather than the candidate, it's easier with the voter because we can have more empathy for that person. They are trying to imperfectly represent themselves in a complex world. And for a lot of these democratic socialists, I think they might actually believe in markets, but they believe the markets need to be far more controlled or regulated. They believe that the certain portions of the market are entirely liberal.
They should
And
be
for example,
Democrats
they might.
then.
That's fine. I'm not
If
trying
they
to.
want to, if they want to
Hold on.
reform the
But
market, they
Josh-
should be
but Josh,
Democrats.
I'm
They
trying to
shouldn't
be
be part of the
prac-
DSA.
Sure,
Okay,
sure.
let me
But
actually-
I'm
my
being
that's a great
hold on,
point.
hold on,
That's a
please,
great
both of
point,
you, both of you, both
That's
of
a
you,
great
both of
point.
you, both of you. Sherveen, my problem here is would you give that same sort of grace to a voter who identifies as a Nazi?
No, because there's a deviation from values. This is such a ridiculous
Hold
argument,
on, but
right? We have
hold
to
on, but
decide the
they're
measure
just trying to
difference from the
imperfectly.
values.
They're just trying to imperfectly find themselves. They may not.
So wait.
They don't ascribe to all the Nazi positions.
So
Just,
what I was
you know,
about
maybe
to say
not even
is
most
perfect
of
for
them.
this, which is the question isn't just like this philosophical, do we think we should include them in the 10th? The question is, what do we do? What is the next steps that we as the, again, let's call it the Obama era liberals do? And one of the things, the challenges with this philosophical conversation is the implication is only don't talk to these people, don't support them, don't try to persuade them, don't try to convince them. If they ought to be Democrats, if like one of the things we believe, and I actually agree, like some of these people should identify instead as Democrats, then we have to ask ourselves why they aren't. We have to ask ourselves why the Democratic Party and Democratic candidates aren't successfully, we as also, you know, the people who exist in the community of Democrats, aren't putting forth something that allows these individuals to feel like we're talking to their pain and for them to latch on and join the party. And I wish more of them, and I think more of them actually belong to the Democratic Party. As I've pointed out, if you look at polling, you can see time and time again, DSA people actually look, if you ask them about the issues, like standard liberals. So then it's like, what do we do about it? And I don't think if that is something we believe, right? If we believe that it's true that actually most of the people should be Democrats and some of the affiliations seem odd, even from some of the electeds, then we have to say, okay, the solution to that cannot possibly be to ignore these people, to say that if you have any affiliation whatsoever with the influencers or you vote for these candidates, we don't want to talk to you. We don't want to persuade you. We think that your views are reprehensible. We have to bring an understanding and a framework that allows us to have a conversation where we open up, right? One of the criticisms I often have, for example, of how Steven's social media content sometimes looks, he can prescribe brilliant policy solutions, right? One of his capabilities that is unparalleled is he can describe what the liberal position is on healthcare, on some formal institution, on international agreement, and he has a generally good way to describe it and communicate about it. But he starts by putting listeners who don't agree with him on the defensive, because they'll say something like, "All you fucking tanky fucks, Maoist, Leninists." No, a lot of them are just normal. Do you not have the same person in my head that exists in most of New York, like the person who isn't a tanky fuck but voted for Mamdani?
I have
Okay.
progressive friends
realities.
that aren't Yeah, you have a bunch of DSA friends. We all know this. We can tell by your rhetoric.
No,
But
I don't have a bunch of
my
DSA
solution,
friends.
my prescription of making the
I don't know if this is
DSA
productive.
an independent party, it doesn't come from me. It comes from them. They want to build an independent working class party.
Wick, I don't know if this is a productive pair.
What like when you say productive, what do you mean?
Like the idea of
I've
I
never
have
attacked
only
you
DSA friends.
personally.
I don't have DSA friends, and I was trying to say that, Josh, that there are people we both know in New York that would be standard liberals or progressives versus DSA members.
To be fair, I think you're right. This isn't productive, but I think that started when you called him a bitch. I think that didn't help.
I mean, he was being a bit. I mean, I
okay,
just wasn't going after my rhetoric.
I was acknowledging every point you said.
You're going to complain about productivity.
No, but he's not engaging with the subject matter. I wouldn't mind if you called me names.
I am. You wouldn't let me engage with it.
You don't think that there are people in New York? You can't agree with me that there's a person in New York that I'm trying to say you and I both know this person.
No, I don't know this person. I don't know.
Okay, then we don't live in the same reality. We don't live in the same reality, and that's why I'm saying this isn't a good pair, right? You should be able to say yes. I know this person. We know many different types and prototypes in New York. You don't know any Mamdani voters who are actually normal Democrats in hiding? You don't know this like standard person who calls themselves right now a Democratic Socialist, voted for Mamdani,
but is members. I'm not talking about Democrats that voted for
I'm asking you if you know a type of person.
I know a Democrat that voted for Mamdani, yeah.
But you also know at a bar, if you met someone who worked at Goldman Sachs or a bar, right? If you knew some of these individuals who right now are self-identifying as Democratic Socialists, but you know that they're actually just Democrats who are just borrowing a label.
They're actually just Democrats. They identify as Democratic Socialists.
But I'm asking you, okay, I'll put it this way. I know a person, I wonder if you know the same person. I know a person who right now calls himself a Democratic Socialist, who actually works at a big financial institution, who voted for Mamdani. But I know this person over many years. They're an acquaintance, not a friend. And I can guarantee you, just because I've known them for like all of my young adult life, that they are a Democrat if you ask them about every position that they have. Do you also know that sort of person? Do you have at least one or two of those in your mind?
Look, the answer is easy. Yes, I think that.
But he's not saying yes. I'm trying to engage
him. Who do not understand
anymore.
the group that they have latched themselves onto, but their ignorance of the group that they have There's a lot of MAGA voters who don't understand what MAGA is. They think that, they're just opposing the woke and the DEI, and they want to make America
in good
great.
Faith. I like it. I just can't fight both of you at once, right? Because he still hasn't acknowledged this person. He just called him a dumb person.
I'm trying to make the conversation productive.
I'll acknowledge there's a dumb voter that may
Why are you calling them
DSA
dumb?
Because they are. They don't know what they're voting for.
Oh, okay. Actually, fair enough. Hold on. Let me give them a benefit of the doubt. Let me see if you agree. When I think about these people, I actually don't think of them as dumb. What I think is most people do not spend as much time. What?
I said, good for you. You're better than me.
Oh, well, but like most people don't have the time, the attention span, and I agree there should change. But like, if I pick on all the things we want to change about people right now, like we can't change how much they care about politics. We can only engage them in moments where they do care. And I don't think that person is dumb. I think politics is imperfect. And right now, the Democratic Party is not doing a great job, even with someone who should be a member of the Democratic Party. And that person is someone that I don't want to exclude from our politics. That person that I'm talking about, and I think this is the majority of people who self-identify right now amongst the voter base. Again, the voter base, not the influencers and not the electeds. That's people that I think we should have in our tent. Do you agree?
Yeah, the Democrats who identify as Democratic Socialists, yeah, sure. If they say they're Democratic Socialists, but they have identified
So, Wick, I would like to hear more about yours because we might disagree more on philosophy, and me and Josh might disagree on strategy.
I think they can do well in our tent as voters, but I don't think we should be allowing candidates to sway these positions or teeter these positions.
But how do you tee up
and Democrats.
So how do you achieve that, right? Because that feels to me like you can't do both of those things at once. One of the challenges is you can't tell people.
Do my prescription.
But hold on, let me point out what the prescription does. When you tell people that they're feeling a pain and they hear people talking to a pain and they're not going to pay full attention because they can't spend 100% of their day paying attention to politics, that, hey, we're not going to talk to people who are actually representing your pain well. For example, Zoran is a great example. A lot of these people we're talking about would just go, you know what, if you're going to tell me I can't like Zoran, who seems to be doing all the right things, you're probably the problem. Don't you think that's a fair reaction on their part?
For sure. You're not going to get me on Democrats need to field better candidates, but that doesn't mean opening the tent to people who want to burn
What is
the tent
opening?
down.
What's the risk of opening the tent to Zoran?
They want to burn the tent down. They don't want the Democratic Party to succeed. I don't want people in my party that don't want the Democratic Party to succeed because I actually want to defeat MAGA Republicans. I don't think DSA candidates want to defeat
you don't think
MAGA
Zoran
Republicans.
wants Democrats?
I think they're focused on getting liberal Democrats out of office. I don't think they give a shit about MAGA.
Okay. Wick?
I mean, do you want me to?
You had a different point that I think is
Sure.
interesting ground. Yeah.
Okay, the Democratic Socialist thing. So, like, first of all, we have to understand a soc dem is fine. They're a socialist Democrat. They want to support capitalism. They want to regulate it, right? Nordic model type shit. I think they're fine. I think we can coalition with them. They could be in the tent, all these things. But a Democratic Socialist is different. The Democratic Socialist wants to end capitalism and, again, seize the means of production, all that shit. I don't think that that's compatible with liberal democracy. And therefore,
I think Bernie wants to end capitalism.
Yes, I think Bernie.
Has
Bernie brought us
that?
Tulsi Gabbard. Okay,
No,
Bernie
huge
has been
mistake
a
on Bernie's
scourge
part.
on the
Sorry,
party.
But like
I want to
again. Hold on. But did Bernie want to end capitalism? Where's evidence?
I believe
If he had
so.
the
Yeah, if he
capitalism
calls
lever,
himself a Democratic Socialist, he wants to end capitalism. That's his end
I don't
goal.
think this labeling is true. Whether or not that's okay with us is a different story. But I don't believe that Bernie's against markets.
He is. He endorses every
Proof.
DSA candidate on the slate. Oh, he
So
doesn't? He
once
didn't endorse
again,
Maria
it's one of
Lisa?
those things where if you call yourself something, we can assume that you hold the positions that that person would have, like a Nazi. If someone calls themselves a Nazi, I'm going to assume positions that they hold. Now, it would not be a gotcha to be like, well, yes, I'm a Nazi, but you know what? I think the Holocaust was real. Fair enough, but you're still a Nazi. And I think it was fair to assume that, okay, these constellation of beliefs. With Bernie Sanders, if he calls himself a Democratic Socialist, he definitionally wants to end capitalism, seize means production type of shit, that kind of thing.
And to clarify, I was saying we should let the voter who identifies as a Democratic Socialist but wants market reforms actually and identifies as a Democrat, I think they should be in our coalition. I'll allow them in our coalition. But actual Democratic Socialists who believe in not market reforms and reforming capitalism in the means of replacing it with a socialistic economy, no, I don't believe they belong in our 10. So that person you meet at the bar that you were saying earlier, Sherveen, that person, I would allow it in my coalition.
Yeah, one of the problems we're having.
Democratic,
just real quick. One of the problems we're having is a lot of people have kind of stretched the meanings of words and made them into vague nothings. Like, people don't understand and may call themselves a socialist, but not actually believe in socialism. And that happens all the time, right? Especially among younger people. They call themselves a socialist because all their friends are, because it's cool, because it's on social media, but they don't actually believe in socialism. They just believe in Medicare for all or some sort of Nordic model, European style governance system, which is not socialism. And so we have this problem where some bad actors are hiding behind these words that have been vagified. And they were like, well, I'm a socialist just like that guy you saw on TikTok was a socialist,
so,
right?
I agree with
that's
you on
not
that
true.
word
There's
thing you said, right? Wick, what you said is exactly true, right? Words don't mean as much as they used to, and that's a problem. We have to decide whether we're going to become victims of that problem or whether we're going to deal with it like big boys. And big boys dealing with this problem would not be whiny little bitches like we are being in this call and in other calls, where what we're saying is Bernie is anti-markets. Bernie is anti-markets and AOC is anti-markets. These individuals are clearly
AOC isn't. She's not a Democrat. She's not a DSA member anymore.
Right, that seems to be because of conflicts around how explicit her positions have been around things like Israel-Palestine and her meeting members of a Jewish caucus and the DSA being mad about that. That's not because she doesn't identify as a Democratic Socialist, right? And this is where we get to the practical matter, right? She still identifies as a Demsoc, doesn't she? And what happens is these individuals want highly... Yes, of course.
No, she identifies as a Democrat.
No, she registers as a Democrat.
She identifies
as Democratic Socialist.
No, she doesn't.
Does AOC identify as a Democratic Socialist?
Everything I'm seeing says she identifies as a Democratic Socialist. I don't have a quote from her, but nothing says she identifies as a Democrat. You
I'm
fucking
getting
loon.
mixed. Like,
Oh, she doesn't.
why am I getting mixed?
You don't have a
Hold
quote
on.
from
I
her,
gotta
but
look
you have
at.
people saying she identifies as a Democratic Socialist.
Well, because she was a member, and so obviously when the
Yeah, it was
party
before,
unendorses
not
her,
anymore.
when you say not anymore, that's because of a conflict she had with the board. Again, I'm having like a moment of wondering whether this is productive because I want to earnestly express to you that there can be two things at once happening here, right? Which is that AOC had a conflict with the people who control the formal thing that we call the Democratic Socialists of America, and also she self-identifies as Democratic Socialist. If you can't hold those two things to be true and allow us to move forward in the conversation using her as an example of a Democratic Socialist, then we're at a standstill because I'm not trying to have a conversation as to how bad the formal party is at holding on to one of their better members. If that's a conversation you want to have it with somebody else.
I want to have the conversation about DSA as an organization, not specific members who may or may not identify as a Democratic
as an organization
Socialist.
or as a whole concept and a group of
Both.
people.
Both.
Right. If we're going to have that second part, we have to allow AOC to be part of the conversation, falling into this group we're talking about.
And I explained to you that my stipulations on whether I would allow AOC to be part of my big tent.
But what you're doing, Sherveen, is you're saying, well, look, I know MAGA's pretty incompetent, but Marco Rubio's pretty good. Marco Rubio's MAGA. He's pretty good. He's competent and things like that. He's not representative of the average MAGA.
Or Stephen Miller? Would you vote for Marco Rubio or Stephen Miller?
Marco Rubio.
In a minute. Okay.
Right? But they're both MAGA, right? And there are differences here. What you're doing is you're pointing to an outlier.
Marco Rubio is always MAGA?
And I would say that the AOC is an outlier.
Do you think Marco Rubio would register with the Nazi party?
Say one more time.
How likely is it that Marco Rubio would register with the Nazi
Almost
party?
certainly not.
How likely is it that Stephen Miller would register with
much
the Nazi
more
party?
likely.
How much more likely?
I can't give you exact number. Orders of magnitude.
You just guess.
10 times.
Well, guess the rate for Stephen Miller and guess the rate for Marco Rubio.
Again, an order of magnitude.
Is Marco Rubio like 1% and Stephen Miller like 75?
Sure,
Fair?
Why not? I'll give you that.
Okay.
But again, once again, AOC has been unendorsed by the DSA. She's been moved away from the party.
Why?
Why was she unendorsed? She has moderated her
positions
over
time.
Why was she unendorsed
by the DSA?
A lot of the
Why was she unendorsed by the DSA?
I'll just grant to you the reason is because of her position on Israel-Palestine conflicting, and she wasn't willing to go far enough with her rhetoric.
And so, if we want to critique,
let me finish though, right? I will just grant you that, but it still remains the fact that what you are doing is you're using AOC to sane wash all these other people, and they are not the same. AOC, whether or not she's a Democratic Socialist, has demonstrated over the years the ability to moderate her positions, the ability to stand up against the bad actors within her side of the thing and tell them to fuck off. She has done that. And still, I worry about her because she does endorse still people I would consider suspect. And so while she's better than most, she's still someone that is not my choice for primary candidate front runner at all.
She might not be your choice, but do you think you want to exclude her from the coalition?
No, because she's demonstrated an ability to work with us in a way that the rest of the DSA has not.
And we should have a politics of addition, not subtraction. And
yes,
we should be careful
remember,
about who we add.
Sure. But if you add certain people, it drives away more than you get. So if you, for example, if you have a party and you invite someone who's stinky, who's a stinky boy, right? You add one, but you're going to lose 20 or 30 more because they don't want to be around the stinky boy. Okay?
If your candidate is a woman, you lose a lot of men. Does that mean you should run no women?
No, but it should get into your political calculus. Hey, what else is true about kind of candidate
and what else is true about Mamdani?
is going to get more votes?
I agree with you 100%. And so what else is true about Mamdani and AOC in this, right? Example. They are highly persuasive, speaking to the voter, great communicators.
Mamdani won by less than every single other candidate that was elected on the same day.
He was running against another fucking Democrat.
So how can we expect him to beat Republicans when he never has?
Do you think if he was running? Wait, hold on.
We have pictures of him in the White House with Trump, smiling, shaking hands.
I mean,
Yes, we
uh,
again
wait,
this idea that
Mamdani
Mamdani
will
is
join
super
MAGA.
persuasive.
Josh,
He was
Josh,
running
Josh,
against one of the
Josh,
worst candidates you could
Josh,
possibly get, or one of the best. I
What
guess
is
if you
the
look at it.
implication
He
of
was
what
running
you just
against
said?
sex pest
What's the
grandma killer
implication?
Cuomo.
What's the implication of what
The
you just said?
implication for Mamdani, and I'll be very, very clear, is that he is looking to bring bad actors within the Democratic Party, and he does not want the Democratic Party to succeed.
Trump. Hold on. He has smiling photos with Trump, which means he wants to bring bad actors into the Democratic Party.
That's not the only piece of evidence I have presented. I also presented his endorsement of Chevrolet.
What the point of the Trump piece was. Why did you mention that he has photos
It's
with Trump?
additional evidence that, again, we can look at how the tankies and the left have treated Governor Whitmer because she was in the White House. They called her a collaborator.
He gets invited.
They called her
He
all
gets
these
invited
things.
by the President of the United States, who lives and operates out of New York, to come talk. During that talk, the smiley as fuck Mamdani barely smiles, and also uses, I don't know if it was the first or the
Barely
second talk,
smiles.
to get several. Did you not watch the press conference? While you look that up, I'm going to continue with this. He then uses either that meeting or the next one to get at least 4 or 5 people released from detention, from ICE detention. He barely comments whenever asked by interviewers about that meeting, other than to say, we had a productive conversation about New York. And you're using it as evidence that he wants to bring bad actors?
As a single piece of evidence. Is that not smiley to you? Is that? I mean, that's pretty fucking shit-eating grin right there.
I want you right now to bring up the press conference. Let's watch it together.
The press conference. Give me a second.
Who do you think gained more from that meeting, Donald Trump or Zohar Mamdani?
The smile-o-meter, apparently.
Thank you very much. We've just had.
It's 30 minutes long. We're not going to watch this whole thing.
We can put it on fast forward.
Even at 2 times, it's 15 minutes long. We're not gonna. Do you have a timestamp for me?
Just skim around it. Let's see how much he's smiling.
You guys see? I don't know.
Yeah. Press play so we can see the clip run a little bit. Look how serious. Look at and skim around.
Interesting conversation, and some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have.
Skim around. Come on, click.
Than ICE per se.
Look, he's not smiling. Click again. Click. Not smiling. Click again.
Hard to make the piece.
Not smiling. Click again. Not smiling. The only time he smiles is when he is asked, do you still consider him, I don't remember if the reporter asked, do you still consider Trump a fascist or a dictator or something? And he smiles because at some point, Trump says, you can tell him.
Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal. The architect.
We're gonna skip around and see how much he smiles.
Wick, are you being real? Do you think this is a really fair video to bring up as a thing? Is this a real conversation?
You said he's smiley as fuck. He smiles all the time.
Every press conference, not a pre-recorded video about Benjamin Netanyahu.
Every tool we have.
Do you not really?
I'm saying we're the smile-o-meter. Okay.
Oh my God! Come on, dude. Be real.
I am being real. You're pointing
that was an unreasonable thing to bring up.
A piece of evidence. And you're trying to focus on something where it's one
You brought up Trump. You shouldn't have brought up that meeting. What you should have said is I shouldn't have brought up the meeting. When I asked you more about that meeting,
because that matters.
He clearly was not trying to bring Trump into the tent. He was clearly not doing that. That was not the
reason
he went.
I did not say he was doing that. I am saying my position here is that Mamdani
where you have to bring up that other
not
video of him not smiling
helping the Democratic coalition.
Nonsense place.
Mamdani is smuggling in bad actors and does not want the Democratic Party as a whole to succeed.
Smuggling.
I wouldn't
smuggling.
even
Yes.
use the word smuggling. I wouldn't even use the word smuggling because he is high-key endorsing these bad actors.
High-key.
He's not just smuggling them.
Low-key.
Yeah, high-key. He's endorsing Daria Lisa over Espiat. Yeah, he absolutely
official
is.
WIC position is Zohar Mamdani went to Trump during the Trump the visits were intended to bring bad actors into the Democratic Party.
That's not an accurate statement.
Okay, so
and
what
I've told
again
you it's not
does
an accurate statement. The accurate statement that I am making is that Mamdani is, I suspect,
why did you bring up the Trump
smuggling bad actors.
visit?
He's holding open the door. He is the
Why
face
did you bring
of
up
a
the
con
Trump
job.
visit? Why did you bring up all innuendo? Why did you bring up the Trump visit?
Because it showcases that he's willing to work with Trump in a way that I find suspicious. And by itself, you could
You find it
shrug it off.
suspicious that the mayor of New York
By
went
itself,
to go visit the
you
president
could
of the United
shrug it
States who
off,
invited
but
him.
with every single
to have
other
a
piece of information,
my
it makes
God.
you wonder. And I
Maybe.
think that, again, we see him endorse bad actors, people who have said that they want to destroy Western civilization. Because
You
I
know who
looked it
else
up.
met with Trump,
I looked
by
up
the way?
Chevrolet's
Obama
statements.
met with Trump. Obama
Look, I
met with
looked up some
during
of
the
her
transition.
statements and some of her organizations.
Barack
So she
Obama.
founded, what's it called? CUAD, the Columbia University.
Barack Obama. Yeah, you. Oh,
yeah,
you don't
yeah,
want
yeah.
to go there. With me.
It says comments like, they are fighting for the total eradication of Western civilization. It expressed solidarity with Hamas-led Palestinian resistance, including Hezbollah and the Houthis. Publication praised Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. I don't know how to say his name, right? Describing him as a hero. It distributed information on the Al-Aqsa flood and
The person in chat who said
October 7th.
Obama didn't praise
that
Trump or
thing.
tweet for him, Mamdani did. You were the dumbest motherfucker on the planet.
Hold on.
Right.
This is Chevrolet's organization that she founded.
Sorry, I wasn't reacting to you, Wick. I didn't listen to what you said.
You didn't listen to any of that thing. Any
No,
of the
it's
things
irrelevant,
where
because you
the
still have not
organization that
just
she
taken
founded
back the
has
Trump
made declarative statements
I still don't know why
saying
you brought
we
up
want
the
to
Trump visit.
totally eradicate
Can I tell you
Western
why
civilization.
you think you brought up the Trump visit? You think you brought up the Trump visit to make Zoran look bad, because part of your strategy is to make all DSA members look extremely extremist.
I
They
don't
do a- they
have
do
to
a good job.
try
The
very
DSA
hard. Yes, I want to point out that they are extremists, but I don't
Why
have
did
to
you
try
do
very
the
hard to
Trump
do
one,
so
then? You
because
could've
I can
used a
just
variety of other
pull up
examples. You
the
chose
statements
Trump.
that they make
Right, but I'm
and
pointing out
say,
something
do
to
you
you. I'm
want to
pointing something out
arrest
to you about
people
you.
who go
I'm pointing
and
something
rape
out
and
to you
murder
about
people,
you,
and
which
they
is that
can't
you're
answer
willing-
that question?
You're willing to take an event that you know, I know you know, because you're way too smart not to know. That visit that he did was completely appropriate. That visit was handled exceptionally well by Zoran. That visit, by
I
the way,
think
got a
that
lot
it
of
is
things for New York in
further
terms of
evidence
funding
that
and
he is a
releasing
bad
people from
actor.
ICE. But you can't help but use it because you have made this extraordinarily more tribal than it needs to be.
They're making it tribal. The DSA
You are
makes it
you are
tribal.
trying to wash the DSA by
Josh, hold
using
on, Wick,
people
hold on,
like
Wick, hold on, Wick,
AOC
hold on, Wick.
and
Hold on,
Mamdani,
Wick, Wick, Wick,
and
hold
I
on,
am
hold on.
again.
Wick,
I'm
hold on.
granting that
Cool.
AOC
One
has
sec.
moderated her positions,
One
but
sec. My friend,
Mamdani
one sec.
is
My friend.
absolutely
Wick, my friend.
a fox in the
My friend,
henhouse.
please. Okay,
and
got
he
it.
has opened the gate for other foxes
Okay.
to come in. He is the face of a con job.
Okay, this is the greatest. We're
he's John Bernthal in the
screwed.
Trojan
Western
horse.
civilization, by the way, is screwed because the lib left has lost his mind and is now attacking people like Mamdani. We're going to lose. We're going to lose either to the DSA or to
Why?
the tech oligarchs.
He's mayor of
and
New
it's
York. What
over.
do we lose from attacking Mandani?
No, this room is going to lose. Either the DSA is going to win or the tech oligarchs. We're taking on loser positions. Anyway,
Yeah, I want
Josh,
the DSA to lose.
Josh, yes, but you're not even hearing me. Anyway, question for you.
I heard. I answered what you just said. You said
Okay.
we want Mamdani to lose. I want the whole DSA organization.
That's not what I
to
said,
lose.
but okay. That's not at all what I said, but okay.
Oh, okay,
So,
whatever.
can you tell me why Wick brought up the Trump visit? But don't
I'm
say
not
anything.
Wick.
I know, but I want you to try to represent it to me.
Okay.
Why was that visit problematic?
It was a nothing burger. I don't think it's problematic either way. It's just him
Why do you
dancing
think Wick
around
thought
and
it
shaking
was?
hands with Donald Trump.
Why do you think Wick thought it was
I
problematic?
personally, actually no. I'll take that back.
I
think
want
it
you
does look
to
bad.
try to
I would
interpret-
never shake hands with Donald Trump. He's a
Okay.
he's a rapist.
Okay. Now, could you answer my question? Why do you
I
think
did.
Wick thought
That's why it
was
looks bad
problematic?
because he's smiling and
Why do you
shaking
think
hands
Wick
with Donald Trump.
thought? Why do you think Wick thought it was problematic?
Because they both have the shared ideology of attacking liberal Democrats, and shook hands on it.
Okay. Cool.
Well, we have record of Mamdani attacking liberal Democrats. He endorsed Chevrolet over what's his
And he
face?
doesn't attack
the other
Trump.
guy who's
Is your
perfectly
contention. Does he
he's
attack Trump?
pretty
Does he
progressive
attack Donald
actually.
Trump? Does he attack Donald Trump?
He shook hands with him in the
Does he
Oval
attack
Office.
Sure. What's the
I
biggest
see.
attack
Shaking
that
hands with the
Mamdani has made
President
against
of the
Trump?
United States. You know who else did? Barack Obama shook hands with Donald Trump.
Wow, and the transition from him being president to Donald Trump being
But see,
president. Wow,
Obama
that's a real
didn't
gotcha.
hold the door open for bad actors in the DSA. In fact, he disavowed
He met with Zoran.
the
He met with Zoran. He and Zoran went and sang to little kids or read a book to little kids.
when Obama was running for
Barack
president.
Obama and Zoran Mamdani.
Yes, I'm talking when he was running for president.
So is he inviting
the-
right? But is he
hold on.
inviting Democratic Socialists to invade the Democratic Party?
Obama, no.
Why not? He had a whole basically like endorsement visit to a school with Mamdani where they opened books and.
Who endorsed Daria Lisa? Did Mamdani endorse Daria Lisa, or
Again,
did Barack
Wick,
Obama endorse Daria
Wick,
Lisa?
stop distracting. Wick. Obama
That's a
had that whole
legitimate
visit
question.
with Mamdani.
That's the difference.
Yeah,
Mamdani's
he didn't
the type of
endorse. He
candidate to
never
endorse
endorsed
Daria Lisa.
Mamdani. He went and he visited with him.
Oh, so you don't think that whole video
After-
production and them visiting a school, opening the books together, having a
He
whole thing together, you don't
Barack
think that
Obama
was
visited Mamdani
Josh,
after he got elected.
Josh, I'm not interested. Josh, I'm not interested. So, Wick, you don't think all of that was?
I'm offering a point. Barack Obama visited Mamdani after he got elected. I'm sure if Cuomo beat
Josh,
Mamdani,
I looked at when Wick said that you and I were going to be on a panel together. I looked at your stuff. I think I like you, but I don't like you over video and audio. I like you over text. So I'm talking to Wick. Wick, you don't think that
I don't like
event...
you either. You come on Destiny Stream.
I said I do like you.
I
said I do like you. I said I do like you.
And now you don't like it when it's put in your face.
I just don't like you over video and audio. So,
I don't
Wick,
like you,
don't
period.
Think...
I don't know if you got that. You called me a bitch like 5 minutes into this conversation.
Okay, my bad. You're not.
Okay. Yeah,
I
you're
shouldn't
bad.
have said that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Wick, you don't think that visit was Obama doing something?
Yes, he was trying to go and get a glad hand press conference with Mamdani. I think that was a mistake, to be clear. Obama.
You might think it was a mistake, but he was clearly trying to do something. No.
You understand?
Do you not think it was an embrace of a kind? Do you not think it was embrace? Do you not think it was an embrace?
He would have endorsed him during the
He of course
election.
wouldn't have, because Andrew Cuomo was running. Most Democrats who have come out
Obama
afterwards
didn't
have
make
even
any
said,
endorsement in that
right,
race.
and most Democrats
didn't.
Right, exactly. It was not because he wasn't trying to endorse DSA or not DSA or had a
but
problem
if
with Obama.
Cuomo
It
had
had to do
won,
with the fact Cuomo was problematic and lost the primary.
Had won, do you think Obama would have made that same visit?
This has nothing to do with what I'm asking about, which is in the moment in time when she did the Mamdani thing. No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. Barack Obama didn't visit Mamdani before he got elected. He visited after.
Does that change that he used that event to try to do something?
It's not an endorsement. It's just a visit.
Oh, it's just a visit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Mamdani is endorsing candidates like Daria Lisa. Did Barack Obama visit Daria Lisa?
Yeah, again, we're talking official endorsement, not just a visit. Even though he did promote her on his shows
my words
and things
were,
like that,
was he trying to do something?
He specifically endorsed someone whose organization wants to
my
destroy
words were,
Western
my
civilization.
Words were, my words were, was he trying to do something with that visit?
Probably yes.
Yes.
But
so,
it was
do you
a
think
mistake.
He's inviting,
one of the problems
hold on.
was
When you say it was a
Mamdani.
mistake, when you say it was a mistake, it's not concluded. Obama hasn't come out and said I reversed this or anything. So it's a position he's holding, right?
I think, in
it's
my opinion, Obama doing that was a mistake.
Right. And so
not
you think
that he did it mistakenly, but it was a mistake to do so.
Hold on. So you think Obama, though, that means that
he
you think
did it
he's
on
crossed
purpose.
the threshold
he made a
and
judgment
he is inviting
call.
bad
I
members.
think he was wrong.
So you think he is inviting Democratic Socialists to take over the party?
I don't think Obama is doing that, but he is propping up unintentionally, in my opinion, someone who is.
Why do you think unintentionally? You think he's
because
not
I don't think that people understand the threat that Mamdani poses because he is very charismatic. He's the face of a con job.
I think Barack Obama did it for clout. I don't think he did it as an explicit endorsement of the DSA or Zoran Mamdani.
Obama did it for clout.
Now, you could disagree with my framing of who Mamdani is, but I provided evidence that you have not contended with. And the strongest piece of evidence that I have, the thing that flipped me, was his endorsement of Chevalier specifically, and Valdez concerned me lesser, but it still concerned me. But Chevalier endorsing someone like that who has made the statements and has the controversies and has the policy positions in the past that she has is very concerning to me. And if we follow down that road, the Democratic Party will lose in perpetuity to whatever opponents MAGA
how the Democratic
morphs
Party is
into in
going
the future.
to lose? You know how the Democratic Party is going to lose? Being so obsessed with this this few influencer batch, such that we reject people, both electeds and the polity, that are indicating to us that as a party, we're not putting forth a vision and putting forth a reflection of people's pain that they find compelling enough to vote for instead. And we're going to tell them they're wrong. And by the way we're going to tell them they're wrong is by pointing at the people that they like and going, that person, red. You should be scared. They're coming from
But
America.
we know through polling that most Democratic voters, let alone the general electorate, most Democratic voters do not want people like Mamdani. They do not want people who are further left. They don't want Democratic Party to go further
left. Say that
left.
more precisely. That's because that's probably not true. I would bet.
Okay, how much do you want? We'll bet this right now because I have 4 polls that'll show you
Josh,
wrong.
No, I'm not going to shoot. It absolutely is true. There's poll after poll that people think the Democratic Party has moved too far left. You can laugh all you want, but it's the truth. It's factual. It's based in fact.
Wick, you think that the Democratic Party doesn't support
you can't contend with that fact.
Mamdani?
I'm thinking the voter, the average voter. I'm not talking the DNC.
Who voted for?
The DNC will support Mamdani because
who voted for who?
He
Who
won
did
under
the average voter vote
thing.
for?
They'll do that.
Who did the average voter vote for?
The
Mamdani
average voter
over Cuomo, correct? Twice.
No. But the New York City voter is not the average voter.
Hold on. You said Democrats.
Yes. Do you think the New York City Democrats are representative Democrats nationally?
So, you think if there
hold
was
on,
an election...
no, answer that question. Do you think a Democratic voter in New York City is representative of the average New York...
I answered already.
The average Democratic Party voter.
I answered already no.
Do you think
then great.
Josh,
what does New York City voters have to do with whether or not voters across the spectrum approve of Mamdani?
No, you fucking stop. Stop telling me to fucking shush. Fuck you.
Just chill then. Chill.
Stop telling me to shush.
What we do know is the average Democratic voter, there are 3 cohorts. The largest cohort thinks that the Democratic Party is fine where it's at. It doesn't need to move too far left.
You don't think Democrats nationally found Mamdani inspiring?
The second largest cohort thinks it needs to moderate.
You don't think that Democrats nationally
more to the right. Okay, let me get it out, and then you can respond. I promise. The third, the smallest cohort, thinks that we need to move further left. When we look at what the average Democratic vote, and we're not even talking about the general electorate here, we're talking about Democrats specifically. So when we look at what the Democratic voter wants, they want to either not move at all, policy-wise, or moderate.
Can you show me the data?
Sure.
Josh, would you be up for getting a beer next week?
If Mamdani
It's a genuine
is so
invitation.
inspiring,
Hold on, ask you a question.
Is so,
You're in New York, you said, right?
I don't want to beer. I don't want to beer with you. If Mamdani is so
then shut up. I don't want to talk to you.
Because I don't want to have a beer with you.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah,
Can you not be at least a little respectful?
Give me a
of
trade. Give me a trade. Give me a trade. Either we're gonna have a resolution at the end of this in private so that we don't, have this disdain for each other, or I'm gonna have outward disdain for you. Which one?
Bro, how are you so disillusioned that you can call me a bitch?
Because you're screeching this entire time. Because you keep screeching.
I'm passionate about what I'm talking about. And you won't let me finish. You're shushing me. That wouldn't.
Right, but you also don't really bring up the right subject matter point I'm trying to address. So it feels
I'm talking about the subject matter that I was brought to talk about.
It's just
I am.
It doesn't
okay,
hit.
let me ask a question then about the subject matter. If Mamdani is so inspiring, why can't DSA candidates around the country nationally, why can't they flip red seats if Mamdani's message is so inspiring? You said Mamdani's message was inspiring the country around the country. I'm asking you, why can't DSA type candidates flip red seats?
DSA candidates have had one of their best elections, their best showings in
Have they
primaries.
flipped red seats?
Right? We might see that. We might see it happen.
We might see it happen, but have we seen it yet?
I mean, we might see Trump
I'm
be
just
president,
curious.
and we might not see Trump president.
And I don't actually
president.
know the answer to this question. What DSA members have won a primary where they even have, where it's even possible, like, to flip it from red to blue? Like, what? Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't think of one.
I just think it's obvious on its face.
So how can you say Mamdani's message resonates
shush.
nationwide if they can't flip red districts? Okay.
I think it's obvious in its face. I think it's obvious in its face that Zoran and other DSA members are inspiring the Democratic Party.
In its face that you're an idiot. That's obvious.
True.
Yeah, I know it's true. Sherveen, shh. Can you answer the question? Why can't a Mamdani DSA candidate flip a red seat or even primary flipping a red seat if Mamdani's message is so inspiring, like you said before? No answer? Yeah, that's what I thought. Silence is deafening.
45% want the party to become more liberal.
Hold on, no. We're looking at this as liberal Democrats, Democratic, moderate Democrats. There are two core votes here. Obviously, liberal Democrats, 45% want to become more liberal. Moderate Democrats, 62% want to become more moderate.
So the question is, what are the actual numbers? We need numbers. Because, by the way, what else do we know? Democratic Party has astonishingly awful approval ratings.
Sure.
Those are Republicans. Politicians have an astonishingly awful approval rating.
Agree. I actually think party approval ratings are useless. So too do I think this poll is useless for the same reason.
So when you include Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents, at least in Gallup, more liberal,
these numbers don't tell me.
Stay the same,
I'm going to be very honest.
More moderate, 45%.
I'm going to be very honest. I'm going to be very honest. This doesn't tell me something definitive, right? I think it's interesting. I don't think it tells me something definitive because I also have seen polling
I have more.
that shows very clearly that people are liking a lot of these DSA candidates, and we see that also in primaries. So while you show me some polling that says to some people who identify as independent, that depends on how the pollsters are identifying people and how these people are self-categorizing or being categorized, it's difficult to triangulate because we can also see these democratic socialists getting a lot of popularity.
They're getting popularity in deep blue districts. They're gaining popularity in the deepest of blue, and that's a problem with the DSA is that they're cannibalizing our party from our deepest blue seats.
Yeah.
So of U.S. adult citizens, 16% want the Democratic Party.
U.S. adult citizens also voted for Trump. I'm not
25% want them to stay where it is, and 35% want them to move to the right.
Right. Wait, guess 35% is also the number of people who are MAGA.
Yeah, MAGA Democrats now?
No, this is
when
American U.S. adult citizens.
When you look at independents,
dumbass.
13% want them to move to the left. 19% want them to stay where it is.
Here, by the way.
30% are not sure, and 31% want them to move to the right.
Again,
when you look at
and
Democrats specifically,
I also look at Democratic Socialists winning their primaries. Wick, how do you reconcile those two things? I hear you. I see this.
Okay.
I acknowledge that.
How I would reconcile it.
Josh, I asked Wick a question.
How I would reconcile it is the only place that these people are winning is in super sapphire blue districts. Like I'm talking plus 20, plus 30D districts. When you look at actual purple to
Can you show me that actual purple?
Yeah, I have an example. There's a guy named. Do you know who Kai Newkirk is?
No.
Wasn't this Arizona?
Yep, this Arizona 4, I believe. And he ran a primary under the DSA for a +4 Democratic district. Do you know how much he lost by? He lost a primary by? Sherveen, Google it.
What does one candidate losing a primary? There are liberals who lose candidates. Because Democratic Socialists.
He's running in a +4, not a +24 district. That's the difference.
And so you're using this one anecdote
to
tell me something that's thematically
I'm using it as an example, sir. Have you ever heard of one?
Heard.
Okay, wait.
Thank you.
I'll put it back. I'll place it back on you.
I heard you.
Oh no, wait, I have more. I have more.
Gosh, all good.
No, I have more.
It's okay. It's okay.
I have more. No, you just don't want more because you're getting bodied here.
No, buddy.
No, I'll have more.
It's okay.
Name.
It's okay.
If you can name one candidate, in a +4 DSA and a +4 Democratic district that the DSA is winning primaries, that I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Name one. Name one.
I'll email it to you.
I'm sure. I'll be waiting for it. I'll be waiting a long time for it because you won't get one because there is none. The DSA only goes after the most blue districts. They only want to unseat liberal Democrats. They're adversarial to the Democratic Party. That's the big shebang of what I'm trying to get across. Is that shebang. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I shebanged your mom. But that's the problem with the DSA.
That was good.
I mean, it was good.
I like that one. That was good. No, that was excellent. I love it. It was fantastic.
That said, I just here's the bottom line for me. Okay, the bottom line for me is that I see very little evidence that outside of these very blue districts that DSA candidates or DSA policies are popular or winning. I instead see in a majority of districts, and I'm talking like 97% of the primaries that have been held so far in 2025, 2026, 97%, the incumbent wins.
So,
Okay?
Wick, what do you think should practically? Let's get very practical, right? Actually, let me use an example that I think will be useful for us. Let's use the Stephen CDA thing. So, College Democrats of America bars Stephen from going into that thing, right? Do you think? And I know he's going to make his own choices. He has agency. This is not us prescribing for him. I just
I
want to
get
use
you.
this because it's helpful. Do you think he should do events with chapters of the College Democrats of America at different college campuses?
I think the ones that disavowed, yes. I think the ones that did not,
So
no.
So most of them are not going to say anything, right?
If you, unless you specifically disavow, I don't think you should work with them. No.
So you want them, let's say, at
Okay,
any
well,
of these
it depends.
campuses-
If you're invited there to debate one of their members, then I think yes. But if you're just there to like
What if he's
shill
invited
them,
to talk
no,
about healthcare?
right? Like it depends
Healthcare.
on the
He's
type
invited-
of conversation, right?
He's invited to like talk about Democratic plans for healthcare.
No, I don't think you should. I don't think you should work with them. They're a captured
Why?
institution.
They're
I
a
think that
captured
you're going
institution.
to be helping your enemies because these people want
so
to
this is
tear you
where-
down, and by promoting them,
The
by
College
being
Democrats of
in-
America want to tear you down.
I think that yes, by inviting
they invited Hassan.
Well, hold on. The leadership does at least. I can't speak for the membership as a whole because again, I talked to members as a whole, and the members as a whole, at least from what I was told to me, and they could be lying, I don't know, but I talked to some of the people who were in the room when this decision was announced to invite Hassan Piker, right? Because it was a last-minute decision. They surprised many of the chapter heads with this. 5 out of the 8 chapter heads objected to it. But they were told, it's too late now, we can't back out. And again, we had at least some of the members there at the College Democrat convention that they had were planning a walkout to walk out and protest Hassan being there. They were prevented from doing that by the college leadership, or not the college leadership, the CDA's leadership, right? The board members. They were prevented from doing that. So when I do want to make a very big distinction between the board members, who I have nothing but contempt for, and the members as a whole, who, at least it looks like, we're at least kind of hesitant about this stuff. I'm not saying all of them,
And yet,
but they were at least
you're
kind of
saying
hesitant.
that unless there's a disavow, he shouldn't do events with them.
Because I think that the members do not have your... It would be like doing an event with someone you know wants to burn you, like wants to set you on fire.
Okay.
It's not going to be in your interest 9 out of 100 times. Now, you could probably craft a hypothetical where I would agree to it under certain conditions. Like one of the conditions I did say is, say they wanted to set up a debate where you go in and you take all comers and you just kind of have like a town hall where you debate the board members or whatever. I think that might be helpful and something you could do. But if you're just invited to be a speaker there, to give your clout to the event, no, I think you should say no.
So there's a couple things that I think represent this is a perfect analogy for I think a lot of what we're talking about. First is the assumption that you're there to give clout. I think the challenge is we have to get over ourselves a little bit and understand, in general, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get out there and persuade. One of the things that we have to give credit to MAGA for, and also the DSA, is they go out and persuade, right? Zoran goes on podcast circuit, and he didn't say only the most DSA institutions. He went on liberal institutions, and he communicated his vision for the world. And I think we have to get over this idea that we're endorsing, we're giving clout. No, it's a conversation. We're hopefully going to persuade along the way. But hierarchically, I think the CDA also represents something that we can kind of say about the DSA as well when we look at the membership. The way that the College Democrats of America has been organized, and I was the president of my chapter of the College Democrats of America when I was in college, and I know this intimately. It's a federation affiliation. In other words, every campus is going to have its individual chapter that is going to have an executive board of, let's say, between 4 and 8 students that's elected by probably hundreds of members at most campuses, depending on the size of the campus. And then there's a state organization, and then there's a national. And most chapters will have a relationship with the state and federal and the national organization for logistics purposes. To sign up, to be a charter organization, to get invited to some events that happen infrequently. Most people, even the boards of these chapters, will not go to these events. We're talking obviously about many, many tens of thousands of members and all of these students. Great. So if we acknowledge that, and then we look at the event that happened, where the board, who I agree with you, we should have contempt for them. What they did is completely inappropriate. It's out of line with the values of the tent that I want to create, to not allow one of the
it's a
left's
liberal.
great individuals. Yes, 100% a liberal. But then we're going to say to, let's say, a random New Jersey college Democrats group, where probably the president did not go to that event. The average president of these chapters did not go to the event, who probably didn't think about it beyond receiving an email about it, who doesn't have an immediate feedback mechanism, generally doesn't comment on national politics. These chapters are mostly there to do local programming for students on their campus. Anyone can sign up. Even a Republican can sign up for the college Democrats. And we're going to treat those chapters as if they were moral agents in this decision. And we're going to pre-punish them and say, I don't want to affiliate with you or potentially be seen as endorsing you, and I don't want to come talk to young Democrats and young liberals in the world, because this board, which only gets reelected once a year or once every 2 years by state level people who are chosen out of the executive, so like the 10 people at every chapter that are elected by hundreds of students, who then become state members, who then vote on a few individual delegates who vote nationally. The feedback loop and like the intentionality of the average college Democrats member or even their board, we're going to treat them as a moral agent and say, that thing that happened to Destiny, you have to care about it. You have to, hold on. You have to know who Destiny is. You have to know who Destiny is. You have to agree that it was wrong for him to be barred. You also have to know who Hassan is. You have to think Hassan is evil, and therefore think inviting him was out of line of values.
You just have to think it was wrong.
So you have to release
a
statement. And so you have to release a statement pre-disavowing the thing. Otherwise, if I don't see that you have that disavowal, I don't want to come influence you, young Democrats.
It's not about influence or punishment or anything like that, because you're protecting yourself and protecting liberalism. And is it unfortunate? Is it unfortunate that maybe some young Democrat might not get to hear you in person because you don't go to this event? Maybe so. But by putting your face alongside this organization who has behaved like they have in a non-adversarial way,
and this is why it was
you
a
are
perfect
giving
analogy.
them credence,
just like when we think about the DSA,
their clout.
Just like when we think about with the DSA, the CDA also represents.
Did you listen to a single thing I
imperfect,
just said?
100%.
Okay, repeat it
I'm
back.
trying to respond to it. You believe that affiliating or being seen to endorse individuals who support this liberal activity would be cannibalizing the Democratic Party.
No. I am saying that by putting your name or face or brand beside the institution that has behaved in a liberal way, who is chaired and run and steered by illiberal actors, you are gaining them clout. They are gaining esteem, influence, and power, and you do
what
not
I said
need
is a
to
continuation.
do that.
Why am I not?
Bad to
why
do that.
I hear you, and I'm going to say exactly what I was saying. The DSA, similar to the CDA, is a representation, a coalition that doesn't perfectly represent its members. An individual chapter of New Jersey Democrats, you're going to say, was a moral agent that was doing what you just said, supporting this illiberal executive board, such that you don't want to go talk to them and persuade them about your worldview.
I'm not saying they're a moral agent.
So how are you protecting liberalism by not talking? How is a liberal influence protecting liberalism?
Because you are showcasing to the world that if you act illiberally, there will be
How did they act illiberally?
By banning someone who had done nothing
wrong. The New
wrong.
Jersey chapter.
It wasn't the chapter that. It wasn't just a singular chapter that banned Destiny from the event.
I'm aware.
It was the entire. It was the entire organization. Yeah.
Yes.
So you can't say it wasn't just a chapter. So so this analogy is not analogous to what actually happened to Destiny.
Yep. Josh, you're right. So wait, that chapter that didn't have agency or activity in that, right? And doesn't have a feedback
they had
loop
agency
in
on what they said about it. And if you're trying to tell me that they didn't know about it, I'm calling your bluff. This was a huge scandal within the party that got national attention. That got again other chapters knew about it and said something about it.
So again, how should they know that they need to say something about it? Do you have other examples?
Because
where
when you
local
see
Democratic...
something bad happen that is illiberal, you need to speak up. So,
Do you have
for
other
example,
examples
if
where
I saw
local-
someone, if I heard that Destiny had gone to an event and he beat the crap out of a woman there, right?
Okay.
That would be something I should, because I am connected with Destiny, stand up and disavow and say this is
Do you think
wrong.
it's the
What
same
Destiny
thing?
did was inappropriate. What Destiny did should be condemned, and all these things. And if I
So
do
how
not do
is-
that,
So how
is condemnation placed
how
upon
is
me.
this council, this council at, let's say, this random New Jersey campus, who runs their local College Democrats of America, supposed to understand this event, understand all the things you want from them, and then unnaturally release a statement? Why are those fair things to expect of them? I'm not
Because
saying you
when
can't
you
expect
see
it, but I'm
someone
asking
being
why you
kicked,
think it's reasonable.
sure, I think it's very reasonable to understand what happened, because it was very clear someone who had bought
Most of
tickets,
them, by
a
the
group
way,
of
that
people who had
weekend
bought tickets,
were
who
probably
had paid
just
to
going
be
to the
there
local
simply
frat.
because of their affiliation, because of
You're
they made a
describing
boss
what
call,
happened.
got
I'm
kicked
asking you
out.
how that person's supposed to know enough and care enough such that they know they do
You don't
something.
think that they sent out internal emails? How did the Kansas CDA know about
because
this?
some people attended the event. But by the way, that's probably a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the membership.
Hold on, do you think the Kansas people attended the event?
Kansas, a few people, right? Because again, what happens? There are these chapters at every chartered
I'm
campus.
saying that, again, an organization, right, who
Wait,
has
hold on. Let's establish the logistics here.
communication
Wait,
within
wait.
its...
Let's
Do
establish.
you think that they don't
wait.
know about what each others are doing? Like,
Most
especially
of them
the national
don't. I'm telling
level.
you this. I was the president of the College Dems. The emails we mostly get are logistics. We get invited to events, and then that's it. We don't continue to get bulletins. Policy positions are not part of the distribution as well, by the way. The College Democrats of America does not send out like lots of content. It's logistics. So this event represents a unique point where actually like you see the...
Sure.
the
I'll give you this.
the
If
executive
you
board.
talk to them and they say, "Hey, we didn't hear about this, but the way you're describing it is terrible, and we disavow," then I think that counts.
Right. And by the way, hold on. I kind of agree with what you just said. But we're currently, and again, I'm not trying to prescribe for him, but Stephen's current stance is I will not go talk to anybody who doesn't disavow and all this other stuff. It's not he's taking a stance where
That's
he
a
goes,
fair.
I will
That's
go to
a fair
events, but I
stance
will.
to take.
But it's not persuasive, right? We're deciding to
Hold on.
subtract from the tent.
I think that it is persuasive. We want fighters, don't we? In the Democratic
We
Party,
want to persuade
we want
people to have
people
our
who
opinion.
stand up
Yeah.
for values.
So you're
we
going to
want
say
people who
the
have
18
a
to 22-year-olds
spine,
on a college
and
campus.
part of
the
having
18
a
to 22-year-olds,
spine
yep.
is telling
Yep.
people no.
Part of having a spine is not being so self-interested and pretentious about these beliefs that you're going to
It's
say
not
these 18 to 20
pretentious.
hold on
funny
these
conversation.
18 to 22-year-olds who most weekends are at their local frat or doing homework, or they're pre-med students who don't spend all of their time consuming this content. By the way, see Hassan every once in a while, and again, he speaks to their pain very well. They see Destiny every once in a while. He sounds a little bit unhinged sometimes. So does Hassan. And they're supposed to take and interpret all of that and go, wow, this was a great injustice and isn't
Yes,
in line
it's
with
not
my
a
values.
it's not a
And
hard
unlike
call.
any
You're
other
acting as if
statement-
a random person who saw this couldn't identify immediately what it was and that it was wrong. Every single person who is unaffiliated with this space that I have told about this incident and this
you've
event,
told.
who I've shown this incident and event, has recognized that's fucked up.
that you've told.
Yes.
Most of these people wouldn't even listen to you, Wick, or me. They wouldn't listen to us. They don't care about us. They look at us and be like, "These
Maybe
people are
not
clearly
you,
not
but
important
hey,
enough."
if I go up and I strike up a conversation, 9 times out of 10, I'm getting a conversation.
You know what I mean. They're not listening to us as a whole. These thousands of campuses, tens of thousands of campuses across America, and all of these members at these campuses are not listening to this conversation. They don't follow this event as closely. They literally probably aren't even aware. Most the 95% of the membership of these orgs, let's take the executive boards out of it, probably aren't even know where the event happened because they don't get invited.
But I
It's-
don't care about the member rank and file. I care about the board members and the people who are elected representatives running it.
Yes,
and this
yes,
goes
and
back.
that's why
This
I'm
hold
saying-
on.
right,
This is
right,
important
hold
because
on.
this goes
This is
back to
exactly
your
right.
argument about DSA.
This is exactly
the
right.
average
This is
DSA
exactly right.
voter, I
Yep.
don't care as
Yep.
much about as their elected representatives. It's their
Agreed.
representatives.
Yes.
That matters because they
Which is why I
represent
want us-
the voters.
exactly.
And if the
Which is why I wanna prescribe us
representative
100%
is
with you.
acting
Can I just suggest-
improperly,
Exactly.
then
Exactly.
unfortunately,
Agreed.
everyone gets
1,000%
dinged.
agreed. And Wick, here's my thing, and I really believe what I'm about to say, so please, like, give me some generosity and interpretation here. I agree with what you just said, but I think the prescription that you and others are currently giving in this space is out of our minds. We're going, I believe what you just said, and the way I'm going to impose it is all these people who don't have any exposure to our specific worldview, we have to convince them, who are otherwise people who are 18 to 22 who see Hassan doing lifestyle content and all of his friends and whatever else. We have to convince them by not engaging with them and having pre-filters. Versus, let me just have an alternative prescription. You just tell me if you find this compelling. What if instead of saying anything about not meeting with anybody, we said, actually, we want to go do as many CDA events as we can, but also non-CDA events, young people of any kind. And when we talk to them, whether or not the people in the crowd are Hassan or non-Hassan supporters, we want to give our worldview. And we want to talk to liberals broadly speaking. We want them to hear our voice so that by the time an election happens to replace that executive board, they've heard our worldview. They've heard more about why we think the things we think about the DSA. They've heard why we like our candidates. They've heard which DSA members we do like, and they begin to reform either the DSA, the College Democrats Executive Board, and or the Democratic Party, such that our worldview begins to proliferate versus our current worldview being represented as an a certain set of people who we think, and we tell other people we think are con-faced, and we say, oh, they have con faces, and they seem to want this dissolution of everything America stands for, while America is being brick for brick dismantled.
I want to address your
just be positive
but you keep going
and have a different prescription.
You just keep going. And I'm trying to address these points, but if you
I love you.
go
ahead.
too far,
Go.
I'm going to forget the first point. So the first point that you said, right, that like you set up this what I consider a false dichotomy, that we either have to engage in a specific way or we can't engage at all. I don't think that's true. I don't think that I have to, in order to reach these people, go to their specific event that they host. I don't think that's true at all. I think that we can, again, work with them in other venues,
all of you talking to each other and saying not to meet anybody and not talk to anybody, and we have to cut these people off. That is literally the lib left online for the past month, is you guys talking at each other about how much, like, does peace count?
Do you think
does
I wouldn't
soy
have
pill
Hassan
count?
right
Should we
now?
meet with this DSA? If Hassan did an event, would I go to it?
Do you think I wouldn't have any of these people, any of them, on right now to discuss with?
You would.
But is that a different thing than going to their event and being a?
I think you should. I think you should want to go to their event. I think you should want to go to their event. Do you want to go to their event?
Do they want neoliberal ideas at their event?
Wick, would you go to a CDA event?
They don't. I can answer that
question. If I was invited to
don't.
speak at a CDA event, I'd have to think about it. It depends.
I think your answer should be yes. It's an opportunity to talk to young liberals.
You
don't even know what they think.
Hold on. If they want me to go and just do some sort of puff piece, I'm not going to.
What is this puff piece thing? I don't understand.
So if I go, hey, we want you to
has
come over and
motivation.
talk about how great the college Democrats are, I'm going to say fuck off.
No, this is not an event type. This doesn't exist.
You don't think that they have people in there to like promote their organization?
No.
Oh, what? You don't think that they have speakers come to events to say, hey, look at how great we're doing. We've gained so many members. We've done this many things across the nation.
Let me tell you the events we held.
Influenced all these things.
We held events. It was I graduated college in 2013. So this is 2009-ish to 2013. We held events about Israel-Palestine. We held events. She's like, goddamn.
Yeah, 2013. Goddamn. Holy
That's
shit.
good. That was another good one. I like that one. We had events about Israel-Palestine. We had events about Mitt Romney versus Obama. We had debates with the college Republicans and college Libertarians. We had pizza parties about healthcare. Healthcare was a big topic back then, and healthcare policy. So like, this whole like self-promotion, we invited speakers, but by the way, the speakers would come talk about themselves, right? So it'd be like, hey, Callahan, Missouri congressperson, the Attorney General of Missouri. I went to Washington, St. Louis. We had people who were local coming to talk about like Democratic stuff. This idea that they came to be like, like, did I use it to promote events? Sure. Like the fact the speaker came allowed me to advertise the speaker was coming, but none of the speakers had to say and ever said, like, other than participatorily, wow, this organization, because these are loosely federated. And again, I'm trying to make the analogy of the DSA. This is all kind of stuff that like we have to contend with the structures as they exist. This is not a thing that the structure needed, and therefore that's not how the support would have been helpful to us. We wanted to talk locally, the same way a DSA member might want to be liberal, and like ascribing all of these other things in the background.
DSA member who is actually
Some
a
DSA,
DSA
members.
member.
Some. We have to know that there are different
Hold on.
members, right?
I want to talk about the DSA members. A DSA member who is
Hold on.
actually
Let's not go
liberal.
away from the college Democrats thing. Do you agree with what I said about the idea
No,
that they're
I
even
don't.
self-promotional?
But we've gone.
What
in
is the example of
circles.
this self-promotional event? Give me one example. Like, when do the college Democrats like hurrah each other at a
I
local
don't
campus?
know, but I'm sure
Why
that
would they
it has
do it?
happened.
Okay, so you'd say no to a hurrah event, but you'd come to every other event.
No, not every other event. If they wanted me
Why?
to go and debate someone, I would do that. If they
What
wanted
if
me
they
to
wanted you to
go
just come
and
talk
be
about
like,
healthcare?
I want you to give us an argument of why X is better than Y, and if I believed X is better than Y, I might do that. But if they wanted me to go and just speak at the event and talk about myself, no.
I don't. What do you mean talk about yourself? What does that mean?
Well, you just said that most of the speakers go on there to talk about themselves, to kind
Why
of
wouldn't
promote
you go,
themselves, to
like,
be like,
talk about
look at
yourself as
me,
in-
I'm XYZ, right?
Wait, if you're talking about yourself, aren't you supporting your policy positions?
I think that unless it's
That's a
an
great time to give your
adversarial,
worldview.
at least it's an adversarial, I think that
Why would
they
you
get
wait?
more than
If
I
you-
would get from it. They would get more than I would get from it, and I
You
don't
getting
want
to
to
talk about your
give
worldview
these
in front of a
organizations
group of
who have
young
been
liberals-
parasited by the DSA types and the Hassan types.
You would
I don't
go
want to
a
give them
random
oxygen.
campus
I want to
give them 2
starve them
hours
of
to
it.
give your worldview because you think they're going to
Because my
benefit more from that
worldview
than you
can
will?
get out in different manners and in different ways. It's not as if the DSA is a bottleneck to them hearing about what I have to say.
Wait, Sherveen, honestly, do you think a college Democrat member will listen to Wick's neoliberal view? I'm thinking about Cameron Landon or wearing a keffiyeh. Do you think he'd be reticent to someone like Wick's view?
I think it depends on the college. I think these members represent variety. Like, so I'll give you the
He's
example.
the vice president.
Can I give you the example if you allow me to answer this
Yeah.
a little
okay,
more indirectly?
Sorry.
When
I
I
didn't mean to
was
interrupt.
when I was president of the college, Dems at WashU, we had coastal Democrats. We had Democrats who like grew up in Missouri and were local students. We had people who like represented variety of people on our board. The people who were elected to our board, it was not a politics thing. Like, it wasn't, oh, how liberal are you? It was, are you good at hosting events? Are you good at logistics? Should you be a member? Should you be the treasury member? Like, these boards are meant for local programming. That's part of the point that I'm trying to make. And so I don't think I know about any of 5, for example, WashU's, again, being in Missouri, was like me, New York, New Jersey person who came to WashU in St. Louis. And then my treasury person, I think, was an actual local Missouri kid who came as a local student to WashU. Like, we had completely different worldviews and completely different experiences. So I wouldn't presume that the vice president of a local chapter.
No, he's the
has
vice
this-
president of national. Cameron Landon's vice president of national.
Oh,
chapter.
wait, hold on. I hate that. I hate that board, and I think they did the wrong thing.
Okay.
But they're not the ones inviting WIC. We're talking about local chapters. That's the point I'm making this entire time. These are federated orgs.
Yes, but they are in a federation where the national leadership has
That
engaged
doesn't
in very
usually get to
illiberal
decide
things,
anything about
and
the local.
unfortunately for them, they're going
Doesn't
to have
get
to
to
pay the
decide
price for
anything
that.
about the local. Doesn't get to usually decide anything about the local, right?
Do
So
they?
we're using
Do
this event-
local orgs or chapters have any say in the national board? Do they vote in elections?
So they send some members of their executive board who can attend, right? It's not even like everyone has to go. It's like,
Sure,
do you
sure,
have
but
the
they
time
can
to travel
vote on
to
who
a state
leads them, correct?
to a state level, and then the state level sends a few representatives to vote at a national level.
Sure.
And so
I'll
it's kind
just
of like,
I'll just
who's
say this.
around, the
If
feedback
you,
loop isn't there.
I'll give them an ultimatum. Boot out Cameron Landon or whatever the fuck his
Hold on.
name is.
I agree with
Sure.
this ultimatum.
Then
Wait,
I'll
can
go
I,
on
can I
to your
make
show.
a sincere point?
If you
Can I
don't,
make a real sincere
then
point?
no.
Can I make a real sincere point? This feedback loop doesn't work because let's say you did even reach 1,000, 2,000 people with that message. There are tens of thousands of college Dem members who are at these campuses individually voting for their local board, which is usually probably a popularity and availability context, who showed up and who's popular enough to be elected college Dems president, who then have to go to the state federation, who then once a year get to vote for national. So like, I agree with you if the feedback loop was tighter, but it's not. And so in the meantime, I don't want to say we should punish or like have ultimatums for these students when again, like the ability for that person to even vote
The
that
students
person out
can
is
go
like
to
a
my
year
own event
away.
that I host myself. I'm not punishing the student. I'm not punishing the individual. I'm saying
There's
I don't want to be
pre-filtering. We're
affiliated
we're
with
doing
an
proactive
organization
subtraction.
who is parasited, and I don't want to give them clout or oxygen, so I will not. I think that's a perfectly fair stance. I think that's fine to do. I think that giving them a choice to be like, hey, I will come to your events once your leadership is changed, I think that's perfectly reasonable. But I want to get back from CDA onto DSA, right? Because that's what we came here to talk about. That's what we came here to have the conversation about. One of the problems we're having is that you are trying to conflate the individual voter who might vote for a DSA candidate or even might be a member of the DSA with their leadership and representatives. One of the problems we're facing is it doesn't take a majority to overtake an organization. All it takes is a few key people, and we saw this with the CDA, perfect example, a few key people in positions of influence and power to do reputational, lasting damage to a party or an institution. My concern is that the representatives of the DSA that are being put forth, such as Chevalier, are going to do lasting damage. They are making a serious attempt. That's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next year even, but it's going to happen over a large period of time that they will slowly but surely try to push the party in a certain direction. And it's been happening for years. And it's just gotten to the point where we're starting to notice and it's starting to get bad, and we need to stop it now before it gets too big to fail.
I think liberals need to do a better job at fighting back against the DSA candidates. I think liberals from the top down, from Hakeem Jeffries to Ken Martin to Chuck Schumer, I think we should all be viewing these DSA candidates as adversarial, or at the very least as adversarial as these DSA candidates treat the Democratic Party at large, because they treat the Democratic Party just as adversarial as I treated them tonight.
Are we? Hello?
Do you disagree with that, Sherveen? Or do you agree with that?
What's the problem here?
I don't think he wants to engage with me.
He's
scared.
No, I'm just reflecting on how to, because I really mean this. I want to reach you guys, because one of the challenges that I'll say, I have been fighting Berniecrats and people on the far left for a long time. I've lost friendships over it. I think this threat of the party not only being too left is real, but I also think that there's this other thing that's very real that like we're not talking about, which is like some people believe this thing in really good faith, but they don't understand it, right? And so like this is the person, Josh, that you would call dumb, and I'd agree with you. Like some of them are dumb and some of them are not dumb. Some of them are just busy. The ones that are dumb,
I mean low IQ voters, or not. I guess the same thing as dumb, but low information.
Let's go with dumb.
Voters.
I think that's nicer.
They're lower information.
No, sure. Let's do that either of those two. Which is like I have a concern that a lot of people, when you tell them about policy positions, they actually would immediately be like, oh, I agree with this or not with that. Maybe I'll still affiliate with the DSA because I like a person or not. You know, for example, they might like Mamdani or their local candidate. And I worry that what we're saying is we are taking everyone so seriously, including the electeds, because of the platform, such that we're not going to be persuasive. We're going to be confrontational in the wrong way. For example, do I think it's reasonable to primary, always a more standard stock liberal against a DSA member when the DSA member has shown that they support policies we don't like? Let's say NATO as an example. Of course it's reasonable. Of course. But do I think that means we look at people like AOC and Mamdani and say what they said when they were younger is their permanent thing we will hold them by? We will always have suspicion and innuendo that they have this long-term desire to destroy everything America stands for. When you meet a lot of these people, that's just not their belief system, right? Their belief system, some of them, sure. And again, the influencers especially. But a lot of these people have just a sincere problem or pain, personally or their group they're in or the people they hear from, around affordability or around what we do with foreign engagement. And they currently believe the best solution is something someone said that came out of the DSA. And we're taking that to mean they either A, can't be persuaded, or B, don't have another set of policies where actually
Hold on, no.
they would align more with us.
So first of all, again, my argument isn't to not try to persuade these people that they've been duped. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to showcase this is what the DSA actually stands for, regardless of what, like, the
90% of the
affordable.
content
Can I
around
finish?
this,
Can I finish?
including
Can I
from
finish? Can I
you,
finish?
is talking
I need
about
to
how
finish
evil the
before
people
you
seem.
before you go. I just need to get this out, okay? And then you can counter if you think I said something wrong. You can correct me. All these things.
I love you, Wick. Go ahead.
Right. The problem I'm having here is I don't disagree that we need to, as liberals, have better messaging, right? That's true. I will agree with you. We need better messaging. We need to better able to sell our vision of the Democratic Party, our vision of America, frankly, to the public. That's just correct. But I think that one of the ways we do that is by showing the general electorate, the people of America, what we are and what we are not. And by taking a strong stance against the DSA candidates, and their representatives, we are drawing a bright red line to showcase this is who we are
But if we
against,
think
this
some
is
of
what
these
we are against.
DSA members,
And by cutting those people off, we might lose 100 votes. I'm
hypothetical.
100 votes. Hold on, can I finish? I'm real quick. I'm almost done. But the people who are looking at us and seeing us play footsie with the DSA, who currently won't vote for us because they are afraid that we are being infected, they will vote for us. So we might lose 100, but we'll gain 10,000.
Which, by the way, might be the exact opposite, because the activation and excitement is for people who are representing people's pain very well and communicating about it very well. So we might actually lose 10,000 and only gain 100.
The data does not suggest that.
Where would we be losing these votes?
Well, we can talk about that, but let me ask both of you.
Ask your hypothetical. Go ahead.
Let's assume for a moment Mondani didn't endorse these more extreme candidates, because I think that's where it gets a little weird in terms of transitive property. Let's assume we also got another few years of him governing as he is, which is he has certain things he's actually implemented quite pragmatically that seem, kind of the liberal position of it. He's got the New York. The police commissioner, he's working with Hochul, he's got childcare going, he's moderating on some stuff, he's experimenting with other stuff. He continues kind of to say, I'm experimenting, which is what he said about his grocery stores and bus lanes. And we see that he's generally not changing the face of how New York looks, right? Except for the positive. Let's see if that continues. We then can look at him and say, okay, this is a member of the DSA who seems not to try to be using his success so far to stab America in the back. Sure. He just has a slightly different worldview, and it turns out that because government is always complex and multifactorial, it looks pretty good because it's being contained properly by all the other factors, etc.
In that world, I think that he gets the, let's call it the AOC pass, right? Where
cool.
AOC has demonstrated she's willing to moderate, she's willing to be pragmatic, she's willing to kind of distance herself from the extremists. That's fair, right? But the problem the problem is we don't live in that world. He has already endorsed candidates that are, I think, a deal breaker for me, frankly. And again, this is all assuming that he governs well. In the hypothetical world you're talking about, and he changes and tries to do all this stuff, and it doesn't work, then I think we also cast him off, right? But that's for pragmatic reasons.
So let's say we had that world where he did those things.
Sure.
How would we, in that world, allow him to have what you are calling the AOC pass, while still doing what you're talking about, which is handle the extremists of the party? So, in other words, we'd have to hold space for him and the fact that he's a member of the DSA. Yes. And again, let's exclude the idea that he's endorsed the specific extremists. He's probably still going to endorse DSA people, but we want to hold space for him because we see this as actually being good faith. We don't think there's any con anymore, etc. What's the practical? How do we hold that space properly?
I think that I think AOC put the good example. I think it's right and good to be suspicious and to distance ourselves until they prove that they're willing to distance themselves from the extreme.
Right, but what does this look like practically, right? So how would we
hold
space
I'm telling you
for Zoran
practically.
and AOC?
Like one of the things AOC did was she's like, no, this is when it came to the
asking what we would do. What would we
demands.
What would we do? How do we hold space? So in other words, let's say we're giving both AOC and Mamdani
again,
pass,
by appointing
but we're
them
not
to
giving some other people
allowing them into the coalition, to listen to what they say, all these things, and being.
But then, what would we do about the extremists? How would we handle the extremist problem while still allowing the space for Mamdani and AOC? Because let's say they're all still a member of the DSA.
We've put a condition on it. We've put a condition.
No, not why. How? What would that look like? So we would.
I'm telling you.
We would
we
attack
put a
specifically.
condition. We put a line. We draw a line, and we say
We can't pre-draw the line, right? Because we need to see the map.
no. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can pre-draw the line, and
Tell
then
me.
if they
Tell me.
cross that line,
What's the
then
line?
we withdraw.
What would be the line?
Again, one of the lines, and I can't give you all of them, but one of the lines, again, we have an example. If you are endorsing extremist candidates, that's a line for me.
But it has to be specific. What is an extremist candidate?
Something like Chevrolet, where they are anything that is illiberal in nature.
What is an example though of a illiberal position that one of these deal breaker candidates has that we should draw the line around?
Well, one of the things that I don't know if this is an illiberal position specifically, but abolish prisons. I think we should draw a line. Anyone who wants to abolish prisons.
Most of the DSA, here's
out.
the challenge though with abolish prisons. Even the DSA members who believe this will answer something like over long term. In other words,
Yeah,
they
but
have
long-term's
a
still bad.
policing. Right,
Yeah,
but they
that's
have
still bad.
Do you think what they literally mean? And I know they're going to be extremists, but do you think most of them literally mean no prisons when they say abolish prisons?
Yes.
We might just live in different universes.
What do you think they mean?
Yeah,
Most
what
of
do they
these
mean?
DSI members who say this, and you can even hear them talk about it when they're asked about this in interviews if you listen to them in long form, will say something like, over the long term, we see other nations, and by the way, I'm not endorsing this, just to be clear.
I get it.
They see that other nations use policing and prison systems far differently than the U.S. does. The U.S. seems to do it very punitively. We can consider this like also a big reason why we have a lot of what do you call it when people go back into prison? Recidivism. Is it recidivism? Versus
what
other
you mean.
nations that try to do it, kind of with a restorative approach. Obviously, there's a lot smaller nations. This is why their arguments don't work that well. Where basically a lot of prison in those other nations is based on programming. It's based off of allowing them to work at the same time.
Yeah, that's prison reform, and no one's
Sure,
well,
exactly.
almost
So
no one's
usually
against prison
when-
reform.
Right,
But
but
why do you
usually
think?
that
Why do you
DSA
think
member-
Why do you think that they don't use the word prison reform? Why do
Because
they
they're
think
good at-
they use the
they're
word
good at
abolish prison
communicating.
instead?
They're more willing than we are
That's
to
bad
play with
communicating.
language. Hold on. Sorry. I agree on a principle level. Wait,
if they think
wait, Josh,
if
can I
they're
agree
talking
with you?
about abolishing prisons, but they actually mean
Some
reform
people are
prisons,
more
that's
willing-
awful at communicating.
I
That's
think
really, really bad.
we
But
as
to
a
be clear,
world
that's
want
not
to
what
address
they
what you're
mean.
talking about.
They don't mean that. They mean literally get rid of the prisons. Literally,
They do.
and this is
Most of
Chevrolet
them
has
don't.
said this.
No,
I don't know about
it means no
Chevrolet.
police.
No, we
I haven't
can-
driven a Chevrolet,
we
but if you
we can
listen
go
to the
to
Valier.
DSA,
Sorry,
No,
I
we can
get her
listen-
name wrong,
We can listen.
right?
We can listen to the co-chair, the DSA co-chair on Fox News this week.
I'm not saying none of
She-
them,
she
Josh.
ex-
I'm not
she
saying none of
explained it.
them.
No,
I'm not saying
But
none
there's
of
a
them.
leadership.
Listen to
They're
a
the
lot
ones
of
that
those
are-
candidates.
But the leadership is talking about abolishing prisons entirely and making a society in
Okay,
which
but
crime
could you
doesn't
hold
happen.
space for an
Because-
individual
no,
member
wait.
who gives their more nuanced view?
Here's the real reason why they talk about abolish prisons. They talk about abolishing prisons because they're an anti-capitalist organization and they think the prison system is used to engage in that capitalist system, and they're just anti-capitalism altogether. They don't want to abolish prisons to reform it. They want to abolish prisons and not replace it because they want to build a society in which crime doesn't happen. Can you give me a society in history in which crime has never taken place? No, right? Yeah, so why are we going to abolish prisons and form a society in which crime doesn't take place? That's my whole argument against the abolishing prisons policy. Right? That's like the argument against it. Right? Right? Oh, he doesn't want to engage because he's just scared. But
what's going on here? Are you wanting to talk, or is he muted on your end?
No, I can talk. I'm sorry,
Go
Wick.
ahead.
If we go and watch the co-chair talk on Fox News earlier this week about abolishing prisons, she doesn't talk about reforming the prison system. She talks about getting prisons, or getting rid of prisons entirely. That's not good communication. That's awful communication.
Well, no, they are communicating correctly. I don't know what Sherveen is doing here. Sherveen's doing here, but they absolutely want to get rid of prisons.
I can't take seriously people who genuinely believe that the better members of the DSA, and again, they're going to be better and worse members, think that they're ever going to live in a crimeless society. And I think one of the things that's meaningful
So why
here
do they
is
want to
again
abolish
listening.
prisons if they can't live, if they can't see themselves in a crimeless society?
I feel like none of you have actually listened to these people in good faith.
I listened to the co-chair talk about abolishing prisons this week.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I wanna-
Okay. Yeah, we can watch it together.
So I want to go back. I'll use a personal anecdote of when I came around on Mamdani in my own personal journey. So when I didn't wind up actually voting for Mamdani in the primary, because going into the primary, I thought I was going to vote for Cuomo because, again, I'm a standard stock Obama era liberal, and I said that from a policy perspective, I can't support what Zoran's bringing to the table, even if I don't like Cuomo. That weekend, and you can go look at the record of this, I got very negatively polarized on Cuomo because, as my industry being in tech does, they couldn't help themselves and they were attacking Zoran all that weekend. And they were attacking him on, kind of bases that all of us would agree were disgusting and xenophobic, Islamophobic, innuendo-based, and it just really negatively polarized me. So I decided I was fighting them all weekend. I got frustrated. I decided not to vote during the primary, and that week I was trying to decide, okay, what I'm going to do in the next election, and I listened to Zoran do the podcast circuit. He went on Ezra Klein, Derek Thompson, Vox stuff, New York Times, and I was just listening to him in long form. And when I listened to him in long form, the thing that I kept hearing him say that really persuaded me was he would get challenged on the more extremist positions, on the DSA style stuff, the free buses, the grocery stores, et cetera, where I very much rent control, where I very much disagree with him, even to this day. And his responses would be interesting. He'd first defend the policy, but then he would say, especially to the interviewers that... Okay. Yeah. He would then say, to especially the interviewers who are good at drawing it out of him, that he thought of them as experiments. And Derek Thompson was a particularly good example of this, and I don't remember if it was rent control grocery stores, where he also said, look, Derek, like the other thing I'm going to say here is this is an experiment. Like we're going to run a few grocery stores, and then we're going to see what happens. If the grocery stores don't work, if they, like, because Derek was bringing up where they failed in other states as experiments, then we won't do them. No, states. There are states that have done it.
And
I think
other
like
countries
Washington
have done state-run grocery stores and it's failed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he said basically,
More
like, this
evidence.
is, and he said basically, this is an ability not only to try these grocery stores, but to change a little bit of what we expect out of the city in terms of experiments. And when I heard that, what I heard was someone who didn't say, I believe grocery should only be run. And what else, by the way, can you triangulate? You can triangulate that he's reducing the size for small, the fees for small businesses to register in New York. He's reducing what it takes to get a license to run a food truck. These are small businesses. These are market-based businesses. In other words, if you triangulate his positions, he's identifying a pain, but he's not staying rigid to only his prescription. Now, he does want us to go to a different outcome than we're at now in a very big way.
Sure.
His reason, his reasoning and his trace for doing so is not, I believe capitalism must be abolished by all means. He's going, look, we're in a bad place.
Two things.
Here's a thing I believe can happen. Here's a pathway of experiments that might bring us to something we can all agree on.
I get you. I have one thing to say, then I want to ask Josh a question. The thing I have to say to what you just said is I think you're far too credulous. It's like the people who believe Trump when he said no new wars, right? Like he says all sorts of things, right? You can say pretty much anything. It's what do you do? What are your actions? And we didn't have much to judge Mamdani on, right? To be clear, right? That's fair. But when I look at the actions he has taken since he is set into office, there's things that concern me, at the primary one being his endorsements. I think that regardless of what he says, it's what he does that we should be looking at, and that
do you think there are other reasons
me.
He would endorse
but the second thing,
those other candidates?
I do want to get Josh in on this,
wait,
right?
Wait, I want to be very specific about this. Do you think there are other reasons that people endorse others closer to their coalition than explicit endorsement of all of their policies? In other words, do you think he might be doing it partly just because he wants more DSA members and he knows the
yes, but I think that's bad.
The collection,
that's
wait,
the
right,
problem.
but hold on. But the collection of them, just like the collection of Democrats, if you have some of them that are pro-Second Amendment, you hope that because it's a coalition that you know has a certain shape, won't vote against the overall party's interest,
based on the stated platform of the DSA, we can assume that most of them will have the positions that are stated in the platform of the DSA.
No, that's
and those
not the question,
platform
right?
positions are anti-American.
Do you think it's fair to say that Mamdani might endorse some fringier candidates, not because of their fringier views, but to just generally move towards more DSA-like, right, which we might have a problem with? But again, it's not because he
that's my problem.
Specific...
That's my problem. To move towards the DSA is to destroy the party. Yes.
Right.
Let me ask Josh a question, though. Can you Can you give me the reasons why you specifically, on Mamdani specifically, whether or not you trust him and why or why not? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you a specific example, Wick. Just this week, he released a video about how he couldn't arrest Bibi Netanyahu, which is a ridiculous ideological leap that he's done from his campaign promise of arresting Bibi Netanyahu. I think that was a tragic mistake on his part because he should have known beforehand that he, as a mayor of New York City, can't arrest a foreign leader. And I think that in itself is completely disqualifying for a mayor. But yeah, that does give me pause that he's doing things based on ideologue and ideology, and not on
Why is that
pragmatism.
ideological?
The arresting Bibi Netanyahu?
Yeah.
Because he's pro-Palestine.
See, you don't actually listen to these people.
Hold on. Well,
You don't
wait,
actually listen to them.
Mamdani is pro-Palestine,
Anyway,
right?
Anyway,
We could just acknowledge that fact.
So
Anyway,
hold on.
anyway,
I'm gonna
I have-
hold on.
wait,
hold
wait,
on.
wait,
No, answer the question.
answer the
Is
question.
Mamdani
Answer the
pro-Palestine? He
I'm gonna
is.
answer. Don't worry. Don't
Yes,
worry.
he
I'm
is.
gonna answer.
I'm answering.
I'm
Wait,
gonna
I
answer.
have-
I'm
okay,
gonna
if you don't
answer.
like
I'm
the-
gonna
if
answer.
you don't like the-
Don't
if you
move
don't-
on.
if you
Don't
don't-
move
if you
on.
don't-
Don't
if
move
you don't
on.
like
Hold
the
on.
Bibi
Just give me a
Netanyahu
sec. The link
example,
is coming. The link is coming. The
if
link
you don't
is
like the
coming.
Bibi Netanyahu
Hold on.
example,
Hold on.
I have
Hold on.
another
Wick,
example for
Wick,
you.
Wick,
He
we're gonna
stopped
watch
the
a
homeless
short
sweeps.
together.
He stopped the homeless
Wick.
sweeps. He stopped the homeless
Shush,
sweeps
shush,
and
shush,
killed
shush, shush,
20
shush.
homeless
How do I
people
link
during
you?
a
I'm
Send
DMing
us
you
an
on
idea.
Discord.
What are you thinking?
Let's watch this together on stream, please.
Can you address his point before
Watch
we do
this.
that?
No, I'm
Let me
addressing
know.
it through this. Watch this.
Give me a second.
And then there's a follow-up link as well. Even though this one's enough, it's still good.
Some Jewish groups have noted.
Another example of Zoran Mamdani working in I can't say this word today. Ideology instead of pragmatism is him ending the homeless sweeps and killing 20 homeless people earlier this year during the snowstorm that Adams implemented.
Hold on. Watch this.
He did,
Watch this.
he did that
Josh.
out of ideology.
Josh,
he didn't do
Josh,
that out of
watch this.
pragmatism, and that's
You have
hurting
to press
New
watch
Yorkers.
stream. You have to press watch stream.
It's just the fucking okay.
Let me know when you guys are ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
That in your video you didn't.
Ooh, it's way
include
too
a
low volume.
reference
Volume's low.
to
Volume, you can't hear
October
anything.
7th or Hamas leaders who
Way too low.
carried out that attack. And it's not easy always to pin you down
Wick.
on this subject, forgive me, but because there aren't many perfect analogies to draw. For instance, not all world leaders or alleged war criminals have ICC warrants, or they're not planning to come to the UN General Assembly, or perhaps they're dead. So my question is that, would you, if circumstances were different, would you have vowed to arrest the leaders of Hamas who perpetrated the October 7th attack if they were visiting New York? And if so, why not include something about that to show New Yorkers that, you know, you're presenting a more balanced approach? Why not include that in your video?
Didn't the ICC put forward a warrant for Yahya Sinwar?
I mean, I know he's dead. Yeah.
Yes, but my point is that they did. And in the video, I made very clear, as I have before, that my interest in executing that warrant is not specific to Benjamin Netanyahu, but to anyone who they put a warrant towards for war crimes and crimes against humanity. And part of that is a reflection of a universal politics. And it is from a universal politics that I can look in October 7th and describe it for what it is, which is a horrific war crime. And I can also look at Benjamin Netanyahu and see the way that he has orchestrated this genocide and also deem him to similarly be a war criminal. And I think especially at a time when there are those in Washington who are discussing measures to take apart the International Criminal Court, what so many are looking for is a sense that there is in fact a rule of law across the world where there are crimes that are so grave that they offend all of humanity. And I believe that we should hold those who perpetrate them accountable, no matter who they are or where they're from. And when it comes to the ICC, they've put forward warrants, whether it's Yahya Sinwar, Benjamin Netanyahu, I think a few other members of the Israeli government. I believe that all of them should be honored.
And by the way, Wick, I'm also sending you, there's no video for this, but I'm sending you a link to the New York Times article before he was elected, where he also said he would arrest Vladimir Putin using the same ICC
Okay,
warrants.
we'll just grant that.
He can't arrest Vladimir Putin.
Wait, hold on. You said it was an ideological thing because he's pro-Palestine, Josh. Do you recant that statement now?
No.
Okay. You're lost. You're just completely lost.
No, you're lost to his propaganda. He barely answered the question.
He barely answered the question.
Yeah, he did. He moved on.
We have a
from it.
pre-election. We have a
And that's the easiest. That's the easiest
He
yes of
moved
all time.
on from it?
Would you arrest Yahya Sinwar? The
I just
October
told you that
7th?
pre-election in 2025, September 2025, in an interview with the New York Times, he also mentions Vladimir
He'd
Putin.
arrest a terrorist. Wow, good for him.
Okay, in September of 2025, he also mentioned arresting Vladimir Putin. Does this not present to you a triangulation where you can go, this is not ideological?
I think it's dumb that the mayor of New York City is talking about arresting
That's not the question.
leaders
That's not the question.
That's
not the question. The question
No,
is,
hold
is
on.
it
The whole point that
That's-
Josh brought up is he doesn't trust Mamdani because he makes these performative statements that he can't do.
No, but he also said because he's ideological. That's the
Yes,
first thing
he
said.
also said it's because he's
And
ideological.
he used this as an example, and I now just want to, you don't have to give up your worldview. You can think what you want about Mamdani. I just want you to admit that based off the Vladimir Putin statement that I'm mentioning and this video,
Hello, Destiny
that the
and viewers.
ICC,
Thank you for the raid.
that the ICC portion of this, he has been completely non-ideological on. He mentioned Vladimir Putin. He mentioned Sinwar. Can you now acknowledge the ICC portion, as dumb as you may find it, was not ideological?
Who did he make a video on arresting?
He made that video on arresting him because Bibi Netanyahu was visiting, and he was making sure a promise he boomeranged to his voters. He addressed why he wasn't going to execute on that promise.
And why couldn't he?
Because he can't actually do it. You're still not addressing my
exactly,
point.
Exactly.
Is it
Why
ideological? We
is he
just watched a
focused
video.
on, why is he focused
I just
on,
want you
why
to
is he
admit
focused
what
on
you saw.
arresting leaders instead of helping New Yorkers?
Wait, could you replay
he's
the
making
video
videos
for?
about-
The video.
Hold on,
It's,
sorry.
look, we got the video.
Wait,
I understand what you're
for
saying.
Destiny's. If Destiny rated, that means that they can see this video for the first time, please. I'd just love for them to see it.
It's like
Please.
okay.
Just do me the favor, please.
Okay, give me a second.
It's also just to repoint out to Josh's folly.
Some Jewish groups have noted
Give me a second.
that in your video you didn't include a reference to October 7th or Hamas leaders who carried out that attack. And it's not easy always to pin you down on this subject, forgive me, but because there aren't many perfect analogies to draw. For instance, not all world leaders or alleged war criminals have ICC warrants, or they're not planning to come to the UN General Assembly, or perhaps they're dead. So my question is that would you, if circumstances were different, would you have vowed to arrest the leaders of Hamas who perpetrated the October 7th attack if they were visiting New York? And if so, why not include something about that to show New Yorkers that you're presenting a more balanced approach? Why not include that in your video?
Didn't the ICC put forward a warrant for Yahya Sinwar?
Why not include that in
I
the video?
know
Let's see
he
if he
did.
answers it.
Yeah.
Yes, but my point is that they did. And in the video, I made very clear, as I have before, that my interest in executing that warrant is not specific to Benjamin Netanyahu, but to anyone who they put a warrant towards for war crimes and crimes against humanity. And part of that is a reflection of a universal politics. And it is from a universal politics that I can look in October 7th and describe it for what it is, which is a horrific war crime. And I can also look at Benjamin Netanyahu and see the way that he has orchestrated this genocide and also deem him to similarly be a war criminal. And I think especially at a time when there are those in Washington who are discussing measures to take apart the International Criminal Court, what so many are looking for is a sense that there is in fact a rule of law across the world where there are crimes that are so grave that they offend all of humanity. And I believe that we should hold those who perpetrate them accountable, no matter who they are or where they're from. And when it comes to the ICC, they've put forward warrants, whether it's Yahya Sinwar, Benjamin Netanyahu, I think a few other members of the Israeli government. I believe that all of them should be.
And again, pre-election, he mentioned he would also use the same ICC standard to arrest Putin. And the reason the video was specifically about Benjamin Netanyahu is because Bibi. Sure. Wait.
So
I'm
why
not
is
arguing.
he talking about it? It's disqualifying for a mayor of a city to be
Again,
talking
you
about
can think it was
arresting world
dumb.
leaders.
I'm
It's
just
out of
trying to get you
ideology.
to
It's not
admit it
worth-
wasn't
it's-
ideological
Hold on,
about being
hold on, both
pro-Palestine.
of you are wrong.
Wait,
Both
wait,
of
wait,
you are
wait,
You
wrong,
said it was
and I'll
because
tell
he
you
was
why.
pro-Palestine.
It is.
Sherveen,
Hold
You
on.
said it was
So-
because he was
hold on,
pro-Palestine.
please,
Is he doing
please,
this out of
please.
pragmatism?
The emphasis is
doing this
slightly
out of
different.
pragmatism? Is he doing
Please.
this out of pragmatism or ideology?
Upholding
If he
the
can't
ICC and international law above our country's law is an ideological position.
Wick. He said it was because he was pro-Palestine. I agree with you. That you can have or I don't
Yeah,
agree
he
with you.
made the
But
video
I
because
see.
he's pro-Palestine. He didn't make a video about Yahya Sinwar, did he?
Is that why he had the ICC position in the first place? Because he's pro-Palestine.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on to his second point. The second point that Josh has made is he does not
Wait
trust
on. Wick,
Mamdani.
do you admit that the ICC thing is at least not about being pro-Palestine, but is whether or not you think it's dumb? Right? You see now you can triangulate the Putin
Which
statement, this
ICC
statement.
warrant does he
Josh,
emphasize?
I asked Wick a question. Do you
Me?
see that?
I thought my name
Do
was
you
Wick,
see
sorry.
that his ICC? I'm not saying he's not
His
ideological about
ICC
Palestine
warrant
Israel.
thing is an ideological thing, but not because of the pro-Palestine
Thank
thing.
you. Perfect.
Right? However,
Go ahead.
it is interesting that he did it for Netanyahu and he didn't do it.
Wait. Let's triangulate some
That
more.
is
Why
interesting.
is that interesting? Given that
Because
he
it's
mentioned Putin
what you
before,
choose to focus on says something about where
yeah,
your
but
interests
let's
lie.
reason it out. Let's reason it out. Bibi is talking about visiting.
Yeah.
Trump has been asked about Zoran being able to do this. If this is a real thing that could happen, and he made this campaign promise, so he wants to say why he's not going to do what he promised. Do you not think, therefore, that justifies why he's made this particular specific video?
Sure, it can, but you would have to.
Let's end
you
it
would
there.
have
Let's
to
end it there. Why not?
assume-
Hold on. Why not end it there? You can still dislike him. You can still feel whatever. But I
Because-
just want to be reasonable about some of this stuff.
Hold on.
And some of this stuff.
You're sane
I think,
washing
I think
again.
your arguments will be better. No, you're insane washing me. Some
I'm
of the
insane
arguments you're
washing
making.
you?
You're doing a good job that
Just
yourself.
some of the arguments would even to persuade me would be easier if you let go on some of the things that are obvious.
So,
He does have
okay,
a stance on
I'm not
ICC.
going to hide the ball
He
here.
does have a stance
Hold
on
on,
ICC.
I'm not gonna
He
hide
does
the
have a
ball
stance
here.
on playbook.
I don't think you're persuadable. I'm not here to persuade you. I don't think you're persuadable. I think you've made up your mind. I think that you are pushing a narrative and pushing a. You have decided what you want, and you are advocating
same
for
way
what
you
you
have.
want, which is fine to do.
In the same way
But you are
have.
not persuadable. I don't think we can.
Are you
persuade
persuadable?
Hmm?
Are you persuadable?
On this specific instance with the DSA? No.
Great. When I said persuadable, all I meant was we could hear each other a little more clearly if in some cases we look at the evidence and we don't have to interrogate the bits just to make it a point. In this case, the ICC
Hold on, we
thing,
have to
we
look
both
at
think
what you're doing.
we
You're
both
trying to
think
focus on the
logistically didn't make
bricks,
sense.
so we can't talk about the wall. And every time I try to talk
no.
about the wall as
I'm
a
trying to
whole,
say this
you're
one
like, well,
isn't
what
a
about this
brick.
brick? What about this
I'm
brick?
saying this
And
one
we have to
isn't a
litigate
brick, so
every single
don't-
brick of the wall.
No,
and I
I'm
can't
saying
talk
this
about the
one
wall as a
isn't-
whole. That's what you're doing.
You guys brought
It's
up
a
you guys
tactic.
brought up the ICC video, and I'm trying to say this one isn't a brick. Let's put it to the side and talk
But
about
you
the stuff that
linked
is.
me the video.
As a response to Josh, probably was the one I don't remember who brought up ICC.
Yeah, Josh brought up the
Yeah,
Netanyahu
so hold on.
video.
All I'm
I
saying is
brought-
let's take
I
this
brought that up.
brick and decide, okay, it doesn't belong. We can still fight about all the other bricks. This one,
No,
it
I'm
all
trying
kind of makes
to,
sense.
but you're not letting
Okay.
us.
We
I'm
can-
saying
we can
let's move
ask
on
the-
to the next point so we can look at that, but you're like, no, we have to focus on this one. And I'm
Yeah.
asking you, let us talk about the wall. We can litigate each brick one by one if you'd like, but it is a
I don't want you to
tactic
use non-bricks
obfuscate
as
us
bricks.
from looking at the wall as
I
a
just don't
whole.
want you
We
to
can look at
use-
these things in the
Next.
context on the other actions he has taken, the other statements he has made, and all these things. And we can make inferences on why he is doing a thing outside of the thing itself. So I infer that he would make a video about Netanyahu, but he probably wouldn't have made this about Hamas leaders based on his past statements as well. Even though
You
he
think that if
says
he
in that
could- if he
video
found out
that he
couldn't
would do
hold
it,
on, let's say a Hamas
I
leader was
doubt
visiting.
he would. I
Let's say a
could be
Hamas
wrong.
leader was visiting, right? Let's say a Hamas leader was visiting, right?
Visiting New York,
And he had
yeah.
promised, against the boomerang is coming. Or let's use Putin's a good example. Let's say Putin begins to visit.
He's visiting New
You don't
York.
think he'd be compelled to explain why he's not going to follow up on what he said pre-campaign? I mean,
If
during his
Putin,
campaign?
well, first of all, I don't think Putin would visit America for a few reasons. But say
Yeah,
he
fair
did.
enough, but it's still
say he did.
useful.
Say he did. Say he did. And he came to New York City, and it was announced that he was coming to New York City. No, I don't think that Mamdani would make a similar video.
Why?
No, me neither.
I don't think he feels as strongly about the Russia as he does about Israel.
But you don't think that this was him talking about something he said he would do and explaining why he wasn't going to do it because he wants to
Okay,
justify that non-action.
Again, what was wrong with the statement that I said, where I don't think he cares about Russia in the same way he does about Israel?
Do you think he cares? That may or may not be true. That's not relevant. I
No,
think
it
this
is relevant. It's
no,
relevant to
because
why
I'm
he
trying
would
to
do
ask
it
you a different
for
question.
this
Do you
guy,
think?
but I don't
Do you
think he would do it
Do you
for
think he
Putin.
made it also for campaign promise reasons? Do you think it was an explanation of a change
It's
in
possible
tactic?
that also factored into it,
Great.
yes. Yes, I think it's possible that also factored into it.
That's all I want to hear. I want to hear that there's an ability to see the multifactorial things that come into a decision.
Of course
like
it is,
that.
but when you try to focus on one aspect and we
All right,
can't talk
next.
about the other
Next.
aspects in the context of which this conversation is
Josh
having,
brought it up.
it's really
I didn't
hard.
bring up the video.
I didn't bring it up.
The video.
Josh brought it up.
No,
Josh also
yes.
brought up a second point, which we need to talk about.
Go for
And again, Josh, you said the point. Repeat it so I don't get it wrong. Go ahead. About the homeless people.
I think, and it applies to whether Sherveen wants to admit it or not. It applies to the Bibi Netanyahu thing as well. I believe Mamdani makes decisions based on ideology.
What are you saying, by the way? It's Mamdani.
Mamdani. I'm saying
No,
Mamdani.
No.
Mamdani.
Say it.
Mamdani.
There we go.
Anyway, I'm saying Mamdani does things based on ideology and not based on pragmatic or factual basis. And I use that Bibi Netanyahu as the video as an example.
Rob, you're wrong. He said Putin in the campaign, and I believe he might have said Hamas, but he said Putin for sure during.
He said Bibi. He said he's arresting Bibi Netanyahu
during
on
the campaign. He also mentioned Putin.
He can't arrest Putin either. That's why it's ideology. It's not pragmatic.
But this is where the endorsements matter too. He endorsed Chevrolet, who's made pro-Putin comments or pro-Russian comments, I should say.
Yep.
And the second point is that earlier this year during.
Do you think he would have endorsed someone who made pro-Israeli comments?
No.
No. So we recognize the difference here?
I think two things can be true. We can accurately describe the ICC thing while also knowing that he's ideological about Israel and Palestine. I'm fine with that.
He is ideology.
I just want to be able to do both. I want to be able to do both.
Based on ideology. Thank you for agreeing with me.
But for example, the ICC one is about his worldview.
I don't want my mayor to make decisions based on his ideology.
Just to be clear. Wait, what? We always make decisions on ideology.
No, I make decisions on what's pragmatic, what works for New Yorkers. I don't make decisions based on my ideology. My ideology maybe steers my pragmatism towards a certain way, but it doesn't shape my pragmatic views.
Neat.
Okay, yeah. My second example was the reason Mamdani works as an ideologue rather than a pragmatist is that he canceled the homeless camps earlier this year. Based on what?
I don't know enough about this issue. Could you tell me more?
Yeah, Eric Adams implemented homeless sweeps because homeless encampments were popping up around the city. And he was moving homeless people into shelters where they could be warm for the night. Earlier this year, it was a campaign promise based on his ideology that Mamdani would stop these sweeps. And we had one of the biggest snowstorms we had in years, and it killed 20 homeless people.
Okay.
Mamdani, Zoran, you know who I'm talking about. Can you stop being pedantic and listen to what I'm saying?
I think you can pronounce his name right.
I'll say Zoran if you don't like the way I say Mamdani. You know who I'm fucking talking about.
He is saying it wrong, right, Wick? I'm not crazy.
Look, asking me about pronunciation is a mistake. I don't fucking know, man.
So, I remember the snowstorm controversy, but I didn't. Is there data that you can link, Josh, about that? And then, isn't crime down in the city? Aren't we at continued record lows?
How does that have anything to do with him ending the homeless encampments? What is crime?
I want to know, like, is that net a good thing? I want to see what happened at the snowstorm. So please send data. And
what has Zoran done to decrease crime?
He tried to add to a few hundred police officers, I believe. I don't remember if that went through. He kept Tish. He's generally been continuing a good trend that Eric Adams started.
He kept the NYPD funded and like Eric Adams did.
Isn't that what I just said?
Yeah. So it's built on what Eric Adams has built. He hasn't changed anything. He added a few cops. So you said 100?
He's kept Tish. He tried to add a few hundred. So he hasn't been ideological.
Who appointed
correct?
Tish?
So has he, for ideological reasons, ruined a pragmatic strategy, or has he continued a pragmatic strategy?
No, it wouldn't be pragmatic to defund the NYPD because we need them.
I don't know what you're saying. You're like talking about. Did he defund them or not?
No, he didn't. I'm applying.
So isn't that not ideological? Isn't that pragmatic?
I mean, it is pragmatic. he does pragmatic things, but he also does things that are based on his ideology.
What is happening?
I just explained. You wanted to move to a pragmatic thing that Zoran Mamdani may or may not.
You
done.
brought it
He
up.
kept-
I
he
didn't
kept
bring
pushing-
it up.
No, you brought up the fucking example of the crime being down. That's not because of Zoran. It's because
I
of
assume
it's
that the
Fish
homeless
and NYPD. That's why crime.
If
is
this
down.
isn't true,
First of all,
hold on. If this isn't true, hold on. If this isn't true, hold on.
Okay.
I'm
If this
talking about the
isn't true,
homeless sweep.
But you're
I'm
talking
talking about
over
the
each other.
homeless sweep.
You guys are
brought up
talking
this
over each
issue.
other. Okay,
If this isn't
one at a
true, it's
time.
my
One-
bad, but I hold on. If this isn't
one at
true,
a
it's my
time.
bad.
One at a
I'm
time.
going. Yeah.
One at a
If
time.
this isn't true,
Hold
it's
on,
my
no,
bad,
stop.
but I assume-
What? When I say stop,
I'm going
please
one
stop.
at a time.
Okay, yes, one
going
at a
one at a
time.
time. Why
Josh,
can't I
finish
go?
what you're saying, and then you
No,
can
no, no,
respond.
no, no. He doesn't go because I'm saying
Hold on.
a correction.
I decide who
I'm
goes.
correcting something. Wick,
Josh
Wick,
gets to
halt.
go.
No, no.
You
I'm
have
gonna go.
gotten more
Wick,
time
chill.
than him
Chill.
in this
Wick,
conversation.
this is me
Josh
correcting
needs
something,
to finish
so
his
Josh
point.
doesn't say the same bullshit he's trying to say. Okay?
He can
Chill.
say the same, and you can point out that he repeated himself, but Josh gets to
Okay.
go.
I'm
Josh,
going to say
go.
what I'm going to say anyway. I'm going to say what I'm going to say anyway. You can
No,
mute me or
I'm
kick
just
me
gonna
off.
mute
I don't
you.
care. Okay.
Where can I link
Okay,
this article?
done.
Mambani
Hold on, can I-
reboots homeless encampment sweeps in New York City. Where can I link this?
Give it to.
Bro, you're running?
Just DM it to me.
Oh my god! Holy crap! I made him run. I'm sorry for that, Wick.
No, he wasn't listening. If I tell you to shut up when you're on my show. Like,
I'm so
if
sorry.
again, you don't get to come on my show and dictate who gets to talk and who doesn't, especially against my wishes. You have had, Sherveen, if you're listening, you had immense amounts of speaking time today. Far more than your interlocutor, far more than me. I don't know what you're doing, man. Oh, did he might have just what's it called? It might have been a what's it called? Tech difficulties.
Am I muted?
Not anymore. But man,
Don't mute me.
If you
Do not mute me. Wick,
no,
hold on.
Oh,
Can I
hold
finish
on.
a point?
If you
Can I finish
continue
a
to talk
point?
over me,
Wick,
you will be muted.
No, Wick, it's Sherveen's
Wick,
panel
allow
now.
me to make a point about why I didn't want you to stop me from making a correction. He was about to say, reasonably, about the homeless thing, that he is differentiating homeless and police. So I was going to say, my bad if I'm wrong, but I would assume that that is part of the police of New York, the NYPD's overall strategy of policing in New York. I don't want him to continue down a line of questioning that I'm going to correct. So you saying he should go first when he stopped talking and we were going to go one at a time is unreasonable. I
No,
should have been allowed
it's not
to go.
unreasonable
Let me correct
because
myself.
while you might know he's going
Okay.
to go down a line,
Fair
the
enough.
audience
Wick, if you
does
want-
not,
if you wanna
and you
continue-
might
I
be
wanna
wrong.
continue-
And
Wick,
allowing
Wick,
him
Wick,
to finish his
Wick,
point
Wick,
and
Wick,
go
Wick,
down the line
Wick,
is
Wick,
just one
Wick,
basic
either
respect
don't mute
for your
me or
interlocutor.
I can go. It's okay.
And
it's
two,
totally chill. Up to you.
If
Don't
you're
mute
not
me,
going to
though.
listen to my mutes, then yes,
I'm
won't.
going to listen to you.
Hold on, I'll take that away from you, right? You don't get to decide here. These things, you just get to go backstage and you can, I don't know, complain. But no, the reason why I think it's important for Josh to finish his fucking point is while you might consider what the point might be, you might even be right about what the point might be, the audience gets a chance to hear his point, made uninterrupted, and then you can counter his point. And if he's incorrect, you take that opportunity to say, "Hey, you got it wrong. This is why you got it wrong." Blah 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 blah, and you can show why it's wrong. But to continue to just talk over everyone as if that makes you correct, if that makes you right, that makes you somehow winning the conversation. That's not how it works here. I have given you so much leeway during this conversation. I've given you so much space during this conversation because we disagree on these things. And I tend to give my people who disagree with me more space so that they have more time. So, they can get out what they need to get out. I've given you that basic level of respect. And you can't, on my show, give me that basic level of respect to actually listen to my moderation, then no, I'm just going to kick you, man. That's crazy. Why would you do this?
To my point, he was completely wrong about where I was going with that. Mamdani, he doesn't utilize the NYPD to do the homeless sweeps anymore. He actually canceled that. Eric Adams implemented the homeless sweeps with the NYPD, but he's since changed that. to a more like social worker type of deal. He will send social workers to these encampments instead of cops, and which is another ideological thing. But yeah, he didn't let me get to that. Yeah,
Let me read some of these super chats and calm down, okay? Now
Do it.
I'm upset.
make money.
Now I'm angry, okay? $2 from Vishy to say hi. Hi, Vishy. Ignoring chat for 500 ARS, which is like 33 cents. Ask the DSA guy how they feel about the organization supporting support of the kleptocracy of Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro. You can, unfortunately, he's not here anymore. You can just DM him. Neolib shitlord for $5.
Nice.
Even if the NATO position moderated, emission is not proof of this, by the way. How much of an impact does that even have on how radical the platform is? For $5. $2 from Testicle Johnson. Diet Coke hat guy is kind of an asshole. Fair enough. $5 from Metalworks. I have a clip of Mom Donnie I want the panel to comment on. Wick, it's only a minute, 30 seconds long. Is that okay to recommend? You can recommend it, but I was trying to concentrate on the conversation rather than the clips. $10 from Redell PPB for the Triggered Hat Guy. DSA platform currently advocates for a classless, anti-government, anti-capitalist, anti-democratic system. Do you support this system? Should candidates support this system? It's a good question. $10 from It's Vishy. This dude who gets rolled by destiny every debate is actually more bad faith than Andrew Wilson. Dude is here to be smug, not actually engage with Josh. It's a bar. I can do whatever. LMAO.
Not wrong.
$5 from It's Vishy. For your info, bro has not been to a bar. It's not people just interrupting every 5 seconds. It's flowing convos. LMAO. $5 more from It's Fishy. Wick, this is unproductive. I know I was being smug and unpredictable at first, but now I'm not having fun. I guess. I don't know. $20 from Per Thompson. Sherveen is a Trojan horse, simply here to muddy the waters while he awaits the glorious destruction of the American experiment. He's a socialist agent doing his best to delay us noticing this plan before it is too late. $10 more from Per Thompson. Wick TV, this Sherveen character is the most unsympathetic piece of shit I've ever seen. Wow, you guys are mean. I've ever had the displeasure of listening to. I bow down to your near unlimited patience to let this AI-loving doofus speak. So first of all, AI is cool, and if you use it correctly. And well, apparently my patience wasn't unlimited, was it? $5 from It's Fishy. Sherveen must have left the bar the way he be shushing Josh. Spyglass glance for $5. How does Sherveen feel about carrying on the stereotype of DSA members having nothing but disdain for black people that doesn't fall in line? Look, I understand most of these are for Sherveen. Unfortunately, Sherveen didn't want to actually participate in the discussion. It is what it is.
Yeah, I was hoping to get at least a couple of super chats my way. I would definitely be welcome to answer them. I'm sorry, keep going.
No, we have a guy backstage that might actually engage with you. We might bring him
nice.
on in a second.
Cool.
€2 for DT. Wick, kick that beard, useless condescending man. I don't kick people for money. But I will kick people for certain actions. $5 from Yeehaw. The more I hear DSA, the more it feels GOP China funded to keep Republicans in power. You might be cooked. That's possible. $2 from Meta. Didn't DSA mostly lose in California during their primaries? $5 from Yeehaw. I can't send links, but Network Contagion Institute has a pretty damning report on what? $10 from Odashara. It wasn't random. The vice president knew who Destiny was by name while wearing the Cafe Yeah thing. True. $10 from Per Thompson. Sherveen sounds like a spoiled rich kid who has never had to struggle in any way, thinks extremely highly of himself, and has been compromised by the DSA to destroy the Democratic Party. $7 Canadian from Big Leafy Tree. How much to kick Sherveen's perform-related self and claim technical difficulties? Just give me $100. We'll do that.
That's all it takes?
$5 from Per Thompson. Sherveen has unfortunately taken over the conversation. Now we're on his turf. Wick TV should pull us back on track. We tried. $5 from Per Thompson. Sherveen is engaging in the Konstantin Kisin style of debate where he can't respond. $5 from Apex Valkyrie. Can you ask Discount Pisco who asked? Let other bro talk some, please, Wick. $5 from Akihiko. Kick Sherveen. €6 from DT. Brain aneurysm, Blackbeard, Shushman is a bad faith interlocutor. Also, the constant references to worldviews make me think he's a precept ortho groiper. I don't think he's a groiper. $2 from DJL. Love you, Wick. I love you too. Sexually, by the way. $5 from Ag. Mamdani already knew that he couldn't arrest Bibi before he made the video, reported on by New York Times. The video was pure theater, clearly pro-Palestinian ideological. $5 from Ag. New York City currently has all-time highs in anti-Semitic violent hate crimes, so Sherveen is being dishonest about crime rates through framing.
Yep.
I
Not wrong.
don't actually know the truth of that.
No, anti-Semitic crimes has gone up significantly ever since Mamdani got into office.
Oh. $5 from My Listening Library. No! In reaction to him coming back on. Stand your ground, Wick. Mute him until he listens. Well, I didn't mute him, but we're here. $10 from Per Thompson, W. Wick. $5 from A.K. Batozai. $5 from Matata. Can we all call the New York City mayor Mamdami now that DSA are blatant adversaries? I try to get people's names right, but I'm very bad at it. $2 from Trib One. I'm guessing the Lefty Purge starts today. $5 from Bathory Dusk. Easy Josh W. Demiurge for $5 says you kicked him out and cucked the content. The quick class needs to be held accountable. I mean, fair. $5 from Trib One. I got a question for Blue. That's you.
Ooh.
Do you hate the
Hello.
Jews the way leftists and groypers do? Props to the
I'm not-
leftists for showing up through lying in public. Is tough.
I'm not a leftist. I love Jewish people. I'm actually probably more pro-Israel than the Democratic Party at large. But no, I love Jewish people. I live in New York. How can I hate Jewish people? Actually, never mind. I'm going to end that there.
$2 from Keep Your Bill Steins. Sherveen crawled under a rock years ago. Why back? $2 from the Trib One. Say, I didn't watch the debate yet, LOL, or at all. Fair. $5 from Natural Phenomenon. I think Sherveen explains himself poorly and fighting the mod is bad, but I will say he himself is not DSA. Yes, he says he's not DSA. But he sure is running cover for him. Let's bring on someone who might be a better interlocutor, at least for a little bit, so maybe I don't cuck the content entirely. Hello, you're live. Hello.
How would you do this to yourself?
Well, Josh wants someone to talk to. And
Okay, sure.
if I know that you will respect my moderation. So
What? When have I ever? All right.
no, I
Sounds
said I
good.
know you will. I'm saying.
Okay. All right. No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I didn't say you were wrong. But how's it going? We cracked the code yet?
We're trying.
Okay, so you've been wanting on. Why? I think you disagree with Josh here. You agreed more with Sherveen. Is that correct?
I don't really agree with either of you. I think something that you do. This is a criticism for you, Wick, and then a question for Josh. I think sometimes, Wick, within your topics that you present to people, certain questions are kind of vague, and then there's no clarification as you move on. For example, when you started this conversation, you mentioned or asked the question, is liberalism and the DSA compatible with the same party? But then the same line of questioning that you led from the start is, should liberals be working with people who accept DSA in the coalition? So I'm just wondering, do you think, Josh, that the Democratic Party should be the party where liberals go to exclusively?
Is it not the party that liberals go to exclusively?
I'd love for you to answer the question.
Liberals go to the Republican side, but yeah, I'd like the Democratic Party to be the bastion of liberalism. Yes.
So, would you want, just to make sure we're pinning this on the head, do you want the Democratic Party to have the monopoly on liberalism as an ideology?
No, I'd want two liberal parties at least in a bi-party system that we have in America. But the Democrats are pretty much the only liberal party in America. So yes,
So you don't want a monopoly, or you do?
I mean, do you consider the Republican Party a liberal party?
Do you want the Democratic Party to have monopoly over liberalism as an ideology? I don't know why this is a hard question. I don't know where I'm being unclear.
I don't know. I just don't understand what you mean by a monopoly on liberalism. I want it to be a liberal party. Yeah, I want liberal to be in its core foundation of its character, of the party's character. But I don't know what you mean by monopoly on liberalism. Monopolies and liberalism is diametrically opposed ideologies.
How? What? Hold on. One's an ideology, one's not. So monopolies aren't ideologies.
Well, two diametrically opposed things. Monopoly and liberalism is opposed to each other.
Okay, sounds good. So when you think of liberalism, right?
Yep.
What are the characteristics of a liberal? What does a liberal believe makes something good in society?
What does I mean I mean
In a liberal society, what
were
produces freedom for
were
you?
Were you here for my opening statement? I could
You can just answer the question. You can just answer the question. That's fine.
So the core principles of liberalism is political pluralism, respect for democratic institutions, and a willingness to treat ideological opponents as legitimate participants in government. That's what I think a liberal. And liberalism encompasses that framework in which.
Okay, how does that produce freedom?
How does that produce freedom?
Yeah,
that's such a vague question. Liberalism is freedom. It's offering people
liberalism is freedom.
Yeah, it is. It's offering people
How?
the most freedom. It's the ideology. It's the political ideology that offers people the most freedom.
How does it produce the freedom exactly?
How does anything produce freedom? It's a framework in which freedom can exist, unlike the DSA, which is a socialist framework or a fascist framework.
How does it, bro?
Ideologically, the most free idea or
let me give you what I believe. Let me give you what I believe, and maybe that'll help you, right? So I'm a communitarian, right? So I believe what produces the most freedom are the abilities for people to collaborate and cooperate with each other. So what makes something good for me in a society is when an individual is able to collaborate with themselves and others. So that's what I believe. That's what I believe that what makes something good in a society.
Do you think the DSA is willing collaborators with the Democratic Party?
Collaborate and cooperate with the Democratic Party? Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely not. But in their rhetoric?
What do you mean? I'm just saying yes. Like, do you have a question there?
I'm narrowing the question. In their rhetoric, do they seem as collaborators with the Democratic Party?
Sure. I don't see why not.
How?
It appears to me.
How? When the DSA
I'm trying so hard to respond to what you said. You said how, and I'm trying to respond. You don't got to cut me off. So you said how, right? It appears to me, based on my observation, that the DSA is a funnel mechanism for disenfranchised liberals who are shying away from liberalism towards other ideology. And the DSA, through their particular, I was not finished, through their particular caucuses and their particular chapters, are a way to funnel those small group of people who are leaving the Democratic Party, who might end up to different political parties, such as the Green Party, Socialist Alternative, maybe even things that like I think are pretty good, like Workers Strikes Back, and they funnel back into the Democratic Party. So they might not be. They may not be. I would have loved to. Bro, this is twice. Stop. So it appears to me that the DSA is a funnel vehicle to keep people within the Democratic Party tent, but not in the mainline Democratic Party tent.
No, I disagree.
But it sounds like what you're saying is that you're observing something differently. So what are you observing?
You just said the DSA is a funnel mechanism for people outside of the Democratic Party. That's what you just
That's not what I said.
No, it is what you said.
That's not what I said.
You said it's a funnel mechanism for people outside of the Democratic Party. And I said, and that's why I said it's a bad
that's
thing.
Still not what I said. Like 2 for 2, friend. So what I said, I'll say it again. It's a funnel mechanism to keep people in the Democratic Party. This is how I talk.
No,
Get over it.
The DSA is not a funnel mechanism to keep people in the Democratic Party. That's what I'm disagreeing with you.
So what is it? So what does it do otherwise, if not to keep people in the Democratic Party?
It creates socialists. It creates people who hate our capitalist system. It creates people who hate democracy and liberalism.
So I'm failing to understand how. So if somebody is a socialist, that means they can't be in the Democratic Party, or they can.
Yes. No, they can't.
So you don't believe so you don't believe socialists belong in the Democratic Party?
Hell no.
How would you want to do that?
How would
Do
I
you
wanna
think that's
do that?
something?
I think
Yeah.
I think Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Ken Martin should be like, no socialist in the Democratic Party. That's how I think we should do it.
So
If you
do
want,
you?
hey, wait, can I'll finish. This is quick.
Mhm.
If socialists want to vote Democrats, I have no problem with socialists voting Democrats, but I don't think we should cater to socialists.
No, but so just so I'm clear, do you think the Democratic Party should expel all socialists that are currently among their ranks and additionally make a clear policy or prescription, probably within the DNC, that socialists are not included?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Democratic Party should make it clear that socialists are not included in
Do-
our Big Ten.
Do you think that would no? But it sounds you agreed with it being like an official thing. Do you think that's something that you'd want there to be a legal challenge for clarification?
What do you mean a legal challenge?
Yeah,
for clarification?
can you elaborate on legal challenge? What do you mean?
Yeah. So if the DSC officially makes a proclamation to expel people based on political beliefs, do you think that's going to survive free expression?
I don't think they need to expel people. I think
No, to answer this question, yes, because it's free association, which is part of the First Amendment, right? If I wanted to kick out from my group all people who didn't agree with my policies, then I could do that. Now, how would this work, like logistically? I don't know.
We know.
But I think that
We
yes,
know it would be
survive a
the
legal
DSA.
challenge.
Sorry,
The
to cut you off.
Democratic Party can decide who gets to fall under their tent. That's just a
That's
legal
not true.
framework thing.
So the
Hold
DNC
on.
can only make things on the federal level.
Hold on,
So
no, wait.
if the
If Trump
DNC were
wanted
to make a declaration,
if Trump said,
Go
I'm
for
a
it.
Democrat now, you don't
Mhm.
think the DNC could say, no, you're not?
they can't. He can
They
register
can't?
as a Democrat. They can register as a Democrat, and
Okay. They can't say,
that's what I mean.
fair enough. They can register
So a
as
socialist
whatever they
can
want,
but
but you can register
and be
as
a
whatever
Democrat.
you want, but we don't have to
Yes.
accept you.
Yeah.
But what's acceptance?
I don't think they should be part of our coalition. I don't think socialists should be. We should be looking at socialists as a core part of our Big Tent coalition.
Well,
I
being
think
part of a
back. Wait. You're cutting me off now. I
You're
think
good.
back to what I said. I have no problem with socialists who register as Democrat and want to vote for Democrats, but I don't think the DNC should be catering towards socialists because I don't think the DNC or the Democratic Party is inherently a socialist party. And I think socialism as an ideology is diametrically opposed to the Democrat and liberal ideology that they represent.
Gotcha. Well, yeah. So like socialism and liberalism are like separate ideologies, right? But and the thing that I'm kind of trying to poke at here is that I'm not quite sure if liberalism can fight these challenges by itself as the core ideology. I think there are certain things that you might need socialists in particular cases. There are things that you might need for communitarians for particular cases and other different ideologies that exist with that. I'm not quite sure if liberalism or any ideology for that matter can fully tackle all the problems that a world might arise or bring up. Do you
Well,
agree with that? Disagree?
Sure. I think.
Liberalism-
Oh, go ahead.
Liberalism is the framework. It's not the solution to every problem in society. I think that's where you're getting mixed up. I think
Whoa, but yeah, take your time. I'm listening.
No, I think that's it. Is liberalism is the framework in which we fix problems, but it's not the automatic solution to every problem in society. But and I don't think you can say the same thing for socialism. Socialism doesn't have every answer to societal problems. But
Sure.
To my point, you can have people in your coalition that have disagreements in policy. I'm okay with that. But you can't have people in your coalition who don't share your core fundamental properties. And socialists don't share core fundamental democratic policies.
But it sounds like you're still leaving room for value with socialisms and fighting particular things. Like your ideology, I mean, you haven't expressed it, but what exactly would you describe yourself? It doesn't have to be precise.
A neoliberal.
A neoliberal. So do you believe that there should hold on? Because when I hear neoliberal, I hear somebody who advocates for market logic in all areas of activity. But it sounds like you might mean something else.
No,
so it's not what you believe, or do you believe that?
No, I'm pro markets. Yeah, I'm pro markets.
So So do you believe that market logic should exist in all areas of human activity?
What does that mean? Is that a communist talking point? All areas of activity? I think you're
All
talking.
areas of human activity. So everywhere that humans exist and interact in, it should be within a liberal framework, meaning by having choice within that framework through markets, you are free. So we should have markets in all areas of human activity: marriage, dating, commerce, economics.
I don't think that, and I don't think that's a liberal framework that we need to privatize marriage. Can you give me one neoliberal that's for privatizing like marriage?
And it's not privatizing, it's that there's a market of marriage. Like neoliberals believe that a market of marriage exists. Do you believe that a market of marriage exists?
What is a market of marriage? What is that?
That there's a marriage market.
What?
No.
Wow, you just said. I just asked you what
Are
something.
we talking
wait,
like a
hold on.
dating market? I'm
Doctor.
confused too. Are we talking like a dating market? I mean, what are we talking about with the marriage market?
When I talk about markets, I'm talking about the economy. I'm talking about buying and selling goods.
So markets for you are just the buying, selling of goods and services and the things
Yes.
that produce those things? Gotcha.
Yes.
That's why. Because again, I understand market logic.
I'm really
Yeah,
curious what a marriage
neoliberal
market
did
is,
differently.
though. Like, I really want to know.
The same logic that you apply in economics when it comes to markets, you apply that in all areas of activity. So
I
the
could
way that
buy
you
a wife
maximize
or sell a
yourself
wife?
within these areas of activity is that you make the all parts of your presentation, whatever the case may be, they're profitable and what's the word I'm thinking of right now? Profitable and important assets that you can cultivate and have flourish or deflourish and devalue.
I'm just wondering, is there a marriage like could I sell my wife or buy a wife?
Yeah, I'm
You
not
can
talking
market
about-
yourself so that you can be marriageable within the market of dating. So there's certain things that you would prioritize, certain things you would deprioritize.
Yeah, that's a thing that exists now, right?
Right, but I'm saying, like, do you want that kind of logic? That logic of like you have these like individual assets, and these assets should be things that we use market logic to value, devalue, etc. That's what I mean when I hear neoliberalism. Neoliberalism says like that idea of like value, devaluation, etc. All the things that we think of when we think of economic markets and value is applied in everywhere in human activity. So like marriage, dating, where you go to school, how you behave in public, all those things.
Can you give me an example of a neoliberal ascribing to saying they want markets in dating and markets in whatever you just said? Can you give me?
Well,
like,
I mean, I just said.
just to be clear, I understand what he means now by market, right? Like in dating market and things like that. And
yeah,
but everyone believes in that, right? Like it's not just
not exactly.
There's far more
exactly.
people other than neoliberals that believe in a dating market.
Right, but I'm saying in all areas of human activity. So every area we interact with, we should apply the logic that we use for markets to that area. That's when I hear neoliberalism, that's what I've always heard neoliberals to believe. But it sounds like you don't.
Well, that's not what I would think of when I think neoliberalism.
Sure, that's why I clarified. That's why I clarified. That's why I clarified. That's what I.
But speaking of transactional,
but it's something different, which is fine.
Speaking of transactional, let me read a couple of these super chats. Okay.
Yeah.
$5 from the Trib 1. The people who are getting funneled into DSA groups are the people who celebrated the death of Brian Thompson. It's not fallen libs, it's extremists. Thank you for the $5. $5 more from Demi Urge. Is this Joe Lewis, the guy who called that Asian streamer white passing? Yes. $10 from Trib 1. If every ideology was forced to work on their own, liberals would dominate every time. Joe is right. There's no constitutional break for non-libs running as a Dem, but shame and non-endorsements work. Thank you for $10. That's it for now.
That's it? All right. Yeah, no, so it's like, to get back to the...
Lewis?
Yeah, I know you from Prime. Of course I do.
Oh, okay. Now I know.
Yeah, everybody everybody reminded me you were... Yeah, everybody reminded me you were terrible. So...
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you were on the Prime Kai circuit. We must have missed each other. Must have been...
Yeah, I ran the Prime Kai circuit for a little bit, and
everybody had not nice things to say about you, but maybe we can change that course.
Oh, a neoliberal on Prime Kai's channel? People had something bad to say about me? I'm sure
no, all the black people that are in our mutuals had bad things to say about you. A
Okay.
team, Bam, Gambit, like everybody. They all kind of said you're very interrupting and talk
Okay,
fast,
to be
but
clear,
maybe
I don't
that can
know what
change.
this
Wow.
matters to the conversation at hand.
No, it doesn't
I don't
matter.
care
It's just
either way.
like, yeah, I know you don't care, but
He
it was
Max
funny.
got destroyed the last time we were on a Wick panel together. I mean, not a Wick panel, a Prime Kai's panel, and he
Me?
wouldn't. You wouldn't
What?
come back on a Prime Kai's panel with me since. So yeah.
Well, and I never. Prime stopped inviting me because I always would cancel on him. That's why I
maybe-
stopped coming back.
Or
Okay,
maybe you're just boring.
regardless of the Prime Kai stuff, let's
Yeah.
continue on
Yeah.
with the conversation. I guess the question of the day, and look, if you guys, we're gonna end the stream in about 10 minutes. If I don't get $100 more in the next 10 minutes, so if you want the content, you got to pay for it. That said, Joe,
Yeah.
can you tell me why you think, in your opinion, liberals should be working with the DSA? Give us a positive argument for it.
I think you got to get what you can and recognize that like not all the battles are battles that like whatever your mainline people ought to fight, right? Like we can I think an example of this, which is like low hanging fruit but recent, is like Haley Stevens, right? Say what you want about her, but it's not quite established that she has sort of the rhetorical charisma and the ability to articulate her ideas well. So that kind of comes into play when we look at the debate yesterday, right? I don't think she did a good job at that. Now, there's a little bit of time left to maybe right the ship when it comes to that, but having a poor debate
Are we talking
performance-
Stevens specifically?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are we?
Like-
Do we want to? Because El Said, as I understand, he's not DSA, is he?
No.
Okay. So I'm just curious how this relates. Maybe
He's
as you go,
endorsed
you'll
by
connect.
DSA adjacent people up to and including Hassan Piker. Just
Haley
like
Stevens won that
Okay.
debate. by
Well,
the way.
my problem here
that's
is
not what the public said.
my problem here is
But
I
El
have eyes and
Said-
ears.
I disagree with him working with Hassan Piker, but I don't,
sure,
as far as I know, and maybe I'm just.
but he's still
ignorant,
ahead, right?
El Said
So
is fundamentally not a DSA member, and he's not.
shit, yeah.
Yeah, as far as I know.
That's usually not how the DSA rules, right? Like the DSA will endorse particular candidates, but it's not exactly common for mainline members to run for particular positions. This is changing. This is a new change that they've done over the past few years, which is whatever, like have at it. But most of the time they're latching on to particular campaigns and individuals more so than they would like running a candidate because they're not a
Yes, I
political
understand
party. They're an org.
I understand
Yeah.
I think I understand what you're trying to say is that they latch on, they give their endorsement, they give their boost, but the person is not officially affiliated with the DSA.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
And that's a strategy, and we can talk about whether that's a good strategy or a bad strategy. And I think that the DSA backing a candidate does not necessarily mean I won't. But I think that it is something to weigh in the scales where if a DSA backs a candidate, it does make me less likely to back that candidate. That doesn't mean I won't, right? Like, I think when it comes to El Said, if he wins the general, or wins the primary, I should say, he gets the blue no matter who stuff, right? Like, he qualifies for that. As far as I know, he's not a
total line.
primary.
You get the fucking line. It's like Trump's a threat. So like,
he doesn't have any Nazi tattoos that I'm aware of. He hasn't raped anyone that I'm aware of, right? So he doesn't
Just has a
like
bunch of
cross
foreign
certain
property.
lines, okay? That said, I based on the polls today, it doesn't look like he's going to win that fight in the general.
no, he's still +5 and 6. Like he's
No.
gonna win unless there's
No.
a huge shift over
Well,
the next
Not
week.
on Mike Rogers.
Yeah, the most recent poll
that doesn't-
we
that
saw
doesn't-
on the
so, like,
direct
okay,
on
so-
him versus Rogers, he was down by 10.
He was at
And
38%.
who's-
That's crazy.
And whose problem is that? Is that
El Said's.
That's the
Why is
Democratic
that-
Party.
why is it? Hold on. So let me make sure we're clear about this, right? If he falls under the blue no matter who banner, and if he were to win, if he wins, he might potentially be behind. What should the strategy be?
We try to make him win.
There you go. So
But
it doesn't
that's
really matter
harder to
who the
do
Republican candidate is.
than it would
like
be with
juxtaposing and
Stevens. The reason I bring
I'm
that
trying
up
to say
is because
I
the
got you.
reason, if I may finish, the reason I bring that up and that statistic up is because we can look at how that same poll showed Stevens performing in the general and see her up 1, which is an 11-point difference, and say, hey, if we're going to put money, time, effort into supporting a candidate against a Republican to win, the easier route is to go with Stevens, at least based on that poll. Now, you can argue, well, that might be an outlier. Maybe so, but it is the most recent piece of data that we have. The problem with the Michigan race is that most of the polls have been El Said releasing internal polls like 3 times a fucking week.
Well, that's primary. That's primaries for you, right?
Yeah.
Like they're like most of the environments that we've had for primaries in the past have just been like, oh, these are just individual races. There's obviously a particular attention that's happening now over the past few years, right? With that being said, right, the thing that I take issue with when it comes to the poll recently, that dropped, what was it, today or yesterday, that juxtaposes juxtaposes each candidate with a Republican, that should tell you what the strategy ought to be, right? Like, it doesn't matter how you feel about Haley Stevens, and it doesn't matter how you feel about El Said. One of those two is going to win, so you need to have a strategy in both instances. So if you know that El Said it might potentially be behind, then that means if he wins, you have to absolutely support him in a way that you might not have to do for Haley Stevens, even though Haley Stevens still is essentially in a tie because the margin of error of that poll is like 4.
It's close.
So it's
and
like,
it shouldn't be
yeah,
as close
so
as it is, but it is.
so that I don't think that's a compelling strategy.
Well, we
right?
also
I
have
don't
to,
think that's
if we're looking at the national level, right? If we're looking at the national level, there also comes a conversation is if you are so far behind, maybe we can't get you over that line, and maybe the resources we would otherwise spend at you should go into races that we can. And that is a calculation we'd have to make. It's a strategic question, right? Because
that's
resources are
the
limited.
strategy point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the strategy would be like when I'm thinking about
But
that race.
right now, what I'm looking at is it becomes easier to win the Senate if Stevens wins the primary. And that's why I'm pushing for it right now.
It's speculative. Like, remember, these are polls. So
There
there's
are
a
polls, but the data that we have suggests that this is the case.
Yeah, but the data also suggests that Saeed's going to win. So it's like, okay,
again,
if the polls are suggesting...
hold on. The problem with that is, again, according to El Said's internal polls, yes. But the general poll, the independent poll that was released most recently showed Stevens up by 7.
But even with that 7 in consideration, he's still ahead as an aggregate.
Yes, because he keeps releasing internal polls to boost the aggregate.
My point here still stands, is that you're going to need a strategy for both of these individuals.
Yeah, that's true, but it's non...
is the best
candidate. We agree. We don't disagree. Okay. That said, okay, Josh, we're winding down. I do have to eat and walk my dog and things like that. So why not give your guys' closing statements, final thoughts, where we can find you. And gang, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, I'll be talking to Dialogue Always, who has a problem with my centrism, quote unquote. And it'll be me and him yapping. And so if you want to see that, please go to that at 6 p.m. Eastern. It'll just be me and him, as far as I know, unless someone big wants to jump on, then I might make room. And we'll see what issues that he has with me. I know that...
Can we please talk about the Odyssey, goddammit, Wick?
I'm trying to get people to do that Thursday, but no one's biting.
A good movie.
No chuds are biting.
Like, what do you need people to bite on? Like,
I need people who thought the Odyssey was woke DEI slop.
Oh.
No one's biting.
That's the angle you're going?
Pretend.
I want to argue against them.
All right.
Do you not? Look, I want to argue against them. I think it was a great movie. I thought it was an excellent movie. And I think that the claims of it being woke DEI slop are just unfounded. I want to fight. Okay? But
okay.
I need people to fight against. Anyway, regardless, Josh, give your closing thoughts. Then Joe, you can give your closing thoughts.
Yeah, go close.
Yep. To close, I don't think we should be catering towards the DSA in terms of our liberal coalition. I think the DSA has proven time and time again to not be worthy allies of the Democratic Party, and we should treat them like that. I think pundits from top down and the DNC from top down should view these people coming from this organization as adversarial. I think our media should be viewing these people adversarially. And yeah, I just don't think my tent is big enough to accustom a organization that's intent on burning the whole tent down. And I think that's my entire argument laid out simply. But yeah, you can follow me on Blue Dog Josh on Twitter. And yeah, I Twitch a little bit at mrbluedogjosh.twitch.tv. Thank you so much, Wick, for having me tonight. It was fun.
Thank you. Sorry for the sorry for the
No, don't be sorry. I expected it.
it
I
went a
expected
little
everything.
crazy. But appreciate you sticking it out. Joe, last thoughts.
Yeah, I think the DSA has value within the Democratic Party. I think that's your funneling device to make sure that these people stay within line, within the D in the name, so that you can use them for other means. And you just got to be strategic about the ones that you support and then the ones that you don't. But I think by and large, it's a net positive. These are still Democrats, and they're Democrats in name, right? And there's like so many different things that you can do with that. But at the end of the day, if you're really that concerned about what happens when a radical goes into the Democratic Party, look at AOC, look at Bernie Sanders. Like Bernie Sanders saw what the Democratic Party did to Ralph Nader. So at any point, like the Democratic Party has shown to have the resources to primary these people out if they fall out of line. Look at there's so many examples, but a recent one is Cori Bush. Like she's still a Democrat and still running, but she's functionally irrelevant in the longer stream of things.
Isn't she running
Jamal
now
Bowman
for a primary?
Yeah, it's exactly the fact that you have to ask that question to tell you exactly why that point is valid.
Well, there's a lot of people running for primaries right now. I don't know
She's running, yeah. But like Jamal Bowman's another case. Like the DNC and the Democratic Party have clearly established that if you fall out of line, you're going to be replaced. Look at Jasmine Crockett. Like so, at any point they can be removed and replaced in a moment's notice. So when they go into the party and the party proper, federally or otherwise, they're going to have to toe a particular line. So as much as you're worried about the socialist communist revolution, one, socialism or communism is not going to be on the ballot. And two, the Democratic Party has clearly established that they can de-radicalize people just by them existing within the party proper. So if you think that people are, if you want to challenge these particular opponents, they're going to have candidates that can actually challenge those particular opponents. And it seems to be the case that the opponents that are coming up are not quite up to snuff in some cases. In some cases, they are. So it's just a fight that Democrats have to deal with, and I think it's good competition, real.
Okay. Well,
especially if you're trying to move the party forward.
Thank you both for being here. I'm gonna let you go. Keep talking to my chat for a little bit because I have some things to say. But I love you all. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Oy vey, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, this is a rough one. I'm annoyed. I'll tell you why. Okay, I'm annoyed. Sherveen, I'm annoyed at you. You were very rude. Okay, I brought you on wanting to have a discussion, wanting to have like an actual talk, and I gave you all the room in the world to get your points out, to say what you had to say, to address how things you wanted to address. I gave you the floor more than I normally do. And when I asked you to stop talking so we could hear Josh, you threw a fit. And I don't know, man. That's super disrespectful. I think you owe me an apology. We'll see. That's my annoyance for that. Let's read some of these super chats. $5 from Micaiah Alt. Wendy Brown. Undoing the Demos. Neoliberalism's Stealth Revolution. Talks about the marketization that neoliberalism causes on most facets of life. Haven't read the book. If you recommend it, I might check it out sometime. But I am on a 50-book challenge, gang. Okay. I think I booked like 18 in, and the year's almost halfway over, so I'm behind, and I need to catch up. It's Vishy for $5. Haha, Josh, I remember you. Black creators hated you. Maybe we can change that. Some smug shit, Lamau. Yeah, that was a little unnecessary, Joe. Yeah, I remember you. Everyone hated you. Yeah, that's a little unnecessary. $5 from the Trib 1. Damn, her years of service and ability to get shit done just doesn't matter when lying populism shows up. We need to get out of this disinfo arc fast. It's going to be harder than it probably should be, but hopefully we can. $5 from DJL. Josh, you're interesting and have good insights. The other guy seems like he doesn't know how to have a conversation. Makes it hard. Love you, Wick. I love you too. And Yeehaw for $5 says, can you pull me in, Cyber Glowy? I want to show DSA insanity. Look, man, we didn't reach the goal. We didn't reach the $100 in the time frame given. And so you get more content tomorrow, okay? You get more content tomorrow. Don't worry. We're still pumping it out for you. We're still giving you stuff. It's just that conversation was a mess. I think this is a problem. We try to have these serious discussions, and it gets obfuscated by people muddying the waters, and we can't talk about what actually matters here. I think that when we look at these incidents, when we look at individuals and we look at organizations, we can't just focus on individual aspects of them. It's fine to do. We can get in the weeds, but many times people will get in the weeds in order to prevent you from looking at the whole forest or the whole swamp or the whole bog, right? As I said, they want to focus on bricks so you can't talk about the wall. And I think that you have to recognize when that's happening and bring it back. There are a time to talk generally, meta, as they say, and there's times to talk specific. And we should be able to do both. When it comes down to it, liberals need better messaging. They need better ability to defend themselves. We need to support liberalism more because the DSA is getting more members. It is getting more popularity. CNN's going to have a show with Hassan soon. That's crazy. That's crazy. I hope that the person doing the interview, I don't even know who it's going to be, presses Hassan on some of the things that he's said, the stances he's taken, his praise of Mao Zedong, and other authoritarians, his praise of the USSR, his statements on Hamas and praise for Hamas, and his other such positions that he's taken. I think that he needs to be held to account, right? And when I mean say held to account, he needs to answer for the things that he has said. And he shouldn't be allowed to dodge. He shouldn't be allowed to obfuscate. He shouldn't be allowed to muddy the waters. And he should be forced to address these issues publicly on a public stage. And I hope that the CNN interview journalist person does that. We'll see, though. A lot of the time, and this is the problem with the DSA infiltration and the tanky infiltration, the socialist infiltration, whatever you want to call it, is they've gotten into positions of power and influence, not just within the party, but within the media apparatus, within institutions in there. And so you will see Hassan pup pieces and pup pieces for the DSA in these otherwise reputable newspapers, otherwise reputable outlets, right? Such as Vox, such as New York Times, etc. And you will see these things, and they're being done because the journalists are googly-eyed, right? And they actually agree with a lot of Hassan's, what Hassan wants. And so they're trying to mask it. They're trying to sane wash it. They're trying to polish the turd so that you won't know it's a turd, right? That it will look like something it is not. And it's important that we call it out for what it is. And we ask people, don't you smell that shit? Don't you smell it? We need to point it out. They've perfumed it, right? They've dressed it up. They've gussied it up. But at the end of the day, it's still fucking shit. And we need to push that. And we need to message better. And this idea that the Democrats or that liberals don't have answers to the problems facing America is just wrong, right? It's just incorrect. There are dozens of, and sometimes competing, different ideas among liberals on how to fix the issues that men, women, children all over the country are facing, right? Wage gap inequalities, the rising cost of housing, affordability in general, gas prices. What are we going to do about education in America? Liberals have policies that address these things, and there is a competition in the liberal marketplace of ideas of which policies should we be promoting and which we should not, right? But don't let these illiberals tell you that they're the ones that have the way. All they have is just lies. They'll say bullshit like, oh, if you vote for me, there's puppies for everyone. But that's not true. And you ask them, how are you going to implement these puppies for everyone program, right? And they just retreat to vagaries, or they'll scream APAC. That's another tactic they do. APAC, APAC, APAC. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's insane. Name three policies? Sure. One of the policies for affordability that liberals have been pushing when it comes to housing markets is deregulation of zoning, or changing how zoning works. And the YIMBY movement is a great policy proposals or set of policy proposals that are unique to each city, which open up buildings and make it much more easier to gain permits and to build housing units, whether that be apartments or individual housing in the various areas. That's a real big policy push that a lot of liberals have been leaning on. In fact, socialists and socialist adjacent people attacked the abundance agenda for this, for the most part, right? Not all of them, but that's one policy proposal that has been made, okay? A second policy proposal that people have made when it comes to affordability is the idea of, how to put this, not subsidization, getting rid of the tariffs, increasing trade amongst having trade deals with Europe, getting rid of the tariffs. That's a liberal policy. Free trade is a liberal idea. That's a second policy proposal, okay? Get rid of all these tariffs, subsidize any kind of market that might struggle in America to help protect workers, things like that. But if you, again, allow people to choose who they do business with, everyone profits. And that's a good thing to do. It's a more general proposal, but it is still a proposal nonetheless. Third policy, when it comes to education, I think that we can make the education system in America work much better by giving much more, what's the word for it? Subsidies? Grants to people who want to go to college, right? So having more government funds available to people who want to attend college, right? And who want to afford the cost of going to a 4-year institution in order to get to a degree. I think that's a liberal proposal that's been made quite a few times, and I think it's a good one. That's 3, top of the dome. I'm sure there's plenty more, but there you go. Okay. Anything else before I go? Primary school reform? Yeah, but there's a long list of different... See, one of the problems with giving specific policy reforms on education, there's a long list of competing reforms that have been looked at and tried. I think that many of them fall under the liberal umbrella, though. And I think it's probably good to allow this to be done on local levels and allow local school districts to adjust their policies in a way to meet the needs of their communities. Federalism is a good thing. And I think that allowing that to happen, allowing people in their own local communities to self-determine what they want to do when it comes to education and how they want to educate their people, I think within reason, that's a relatively good thing. I am for federal top-down control in certain areas. So, for example, yeah, you're gonna have to desegregate your schools. That's gonna happen, right? We're gonna have to force that. But for the most part, I think that local areas should be able to choose for themselves. $5 from Prawn. Wick, education spending has never been higher. I think there's more of a systemic problem here that we don't have a good answer to right now. I'm not talking about spending on the colleges or the schools themselves. I'm talking about making more money available to students who want to attend these colleges. There's a difference there, right? And I'm talking higher education here. When it comes to primary schools and things like that, different conversation. But when it comes to college, which, again, we can look at the state of education, higher education in America. Last I checked, almost men going to college had dropped precipitously, right? More and more men were choosing not to go to college for a variety of reasons. I think that that's overall a bad thing, and we should fix that. And by making more money available to young men who want to attend these four-year colleges, I think that that's a good thing. I think we should do that. Trade schools, too. We should have free college education. Yeah, and I would like free puppies, free ponies, free everything. It would be nice for everything to be free. How do we implement that, right? How do we afford that? Those are questions you have to answer. And one of the problems with populism and one of the problems with socialism in general is they'll say, we demand free X, but then how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? Yes, I would like free college too. But how are you going to pay for it, right? We don't live in Europe, and I know that Europe education system in many countries do provide pre-college, but their population is much smaller than ours. And I would argue that most of their collegiate institutions are less prestigious. But that might just be my American-centric brain going, right? That said, I think that one thing that we can get right now, and I think that both parties could probably agree to if we pushed, is, again, opening up more funds for people who want to go to college so they can afford it. Okay, unless we got anything else, I'll see you guys tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, and we will find out if I'm a dirty centrist or not, okay? I love you all. Talk to you later.